Chapter 59 The Situation Surges. Chapter 59 The Situation Surges. Biming Family Ice Pavilion. The ice pavilion was made of snow ice stones, which were naturally gelid stones. Even on a hot summer day, it would still be radiating freezing cold energy. The ice pavilion was made up of 9 levels, each as tall as 10 zhang, overflowing with freezing air. It looked like a frigid ice mountain. This was where Biming Shang usually trained at. The Biming family's polar ice flame martial spirit was cold in nature. Cultivating in an ice pavilion made of snow ice stones was incredibly beneficial to the Biming family's polar ice flame martial spirit. Usually, unless tempering himself with a secret treasure, Biming Shang would never leave the ice pavilion. Everyone who wished to meet the Biming family had to endure the cold energy of the ice pavilion in order to see him. Biming Shang would never take into account the feelings of others. He would only make others accommodate him. As you go up levels in the ice pavilion, the cold energy gets worse. Even when the ordinary sons of the Biming family come to visit, they would only wait at the 3rd or 4th level. If they kept going up, it would be too much for their body to handle. Level 6 of the ice pavilion. In the middle of the erect ice pillars sat the hulking Biming Shang. His body was shrouded by lingering cold energy. On the ice pillars of the 6th level, strange ice flames were burning bright, making the freezing energy even more chilling to the bones. Mo Tuo furrowed his eyebrows and stood across from Biming Shang. Next to him was the handsome Biming Su. Yin Kuei and Ju San were like 2 ghastly shadows, sitting behind 2 ice pillars. They lowered their heads as if already asleep. Led by one of the warriors in the ice pavilion, Muyu Dai and Di Yalin entered the 6th level of the ice pavilion. The cold energy of this level had twice the strength of the 5th level. The 2 girls took 1 step into the 6th level, and their delicate bodies shook, as if stepping into an ice pit, while their limbs began to slowly stiffen. "You're here." Biming stepped forward and shot a meaningful glance at Muyu Dai. "This is my grandpa, and this is the head of the Mo family." Muyu Dai and Di Yalin's faces simultaneously changed. The 2 of them looked at Mo Tuo as their expressions became stiff as stone. The death of Luo Hao and Hulong was described very clearly. Aside from the intervention of Bernard and the crescent emissaries of the Dark World, there were also strikes of lightning from the sky. Afterwards, the 2 girls had seen Mo Chauga. They knew that Mo Chauga definitely had something to do with Luo Hao's death. Unfortunately, the Mo family held a great amount of power in the Merchant Union, and they also had connections with the Biming family. When Biming simply shouted at Mo Chauga to go away, he clearly didn't want to get into a difficult situation with the Mo family, and he had no intention of speaking out for the girls. Now they suddenly encountered the head of the Mo family with the Biming family. Muyu Dai and Di Yalin felt displeased. However, in front of Biming Shang, there was nothing they could really do, so they only sulked in secrecy. "Nice to see you, Grandpa Shang." Together, Muyu Dai and Di Yalin bowed to Biming Shang, purposely ignoring Mo Tuo. Mo Tuo looked as usual, with a slight smile on his lips, as if he didn't mind the disregard at all. "I heard the 2 of you were in the dark forest. You stayed with some boy for a while. I want to discuss certain things about this boy. Would you happen to know his background?" Biming Shang lightly nodded, his long, thin eyes expressionless, and asked straight to the point. Muyu Dai's heart shuddered. She hesitated, then said, "Only an insignificant little warrior. How did Grandpa Shang come to know about such a person?" "He has something I want." Biming Shang furrowed his eyebrows and said, "Do you know where he comes from?" Shaking her head, Muyu Dai responded, "I don't know, we met him along the road. We only traveled together because we were afraid of the beasts killing people. As for this person's background, I have no idea. All I know is that his name is Ding Yan. I think he's some ordinary warrior from the Merchant Union." "Ding Yan," Biming Shang nodded, then paused for a moment and said, "Do you know which city he is from or which region he goes around?" I don't know. Mu Yu Dai shook her head again. Bai Ming Shang suddenly became silent. After a moment, he spoke faintly. Okay, there's nothing else. In some time, the martial competition is going to be held. You two and Sis should go and watch. If you stay here all the time, I think you all will get bored. Your grandpa and I had some friendship back in the day, and now that he's gone, of course I will take care of you. Don't worry, the people of the dark world can't touch you here in the Merchant Union. Thank you, Grandpa Shang. Mu Yu Dai's eyes moistened, her voice sobbing lightly. Whenever I think of what happened to our family, I want to burn those people alive. Hundreds of people in the Mu family, all slaughtered in one night. Grandpa Shang, you have to help me. You can't rush such things. We'll talk about it later. Bai Ming Shang nodded, waving his hand as he said, You can go rest. This level is too cold. With your capability, it will be too hard to bear. Yes. Without further ado, Mu Yu Dai bowed and lightly pulled on Dialin's clothes. The two exited together. Could that girl have hidden the truth? After the girls left, Mo Tua spoke with furrowed brows. With only a name, it would be very difficult to search. So what do you think? Bai Ming Shang looked at Bai Ming Su. Doesn't look like she's lying. I can keep asking her some other time. Since the other fragment is still at Misty Pavilion, we don't need to rush, Bai Ming Su responded. Bai Ming Shang nodded and said, Okay, you keep an eye on those two girls. Remember, don't get manipulated. I don't want you to become someone else's weapon. Do you understand? I know, Grandpa. Bai Ming Su smiled. Brother Mo, you don't need to be so anxious. I'll notify the Shi and Zhou families, and let them both look for Ding Yan. Don't worry. I'll use my name to search for him. You won't get involved. Bai Ming Shang said unyieldingly, together with the 5 great families of the Merchant Union, I do not believe that we can't find a mere commoner. Humph. Remember, send someone to bring that brat's portrait. As long as he still lives, there's no way he can hide. Okay, then I will leave now. Mo Tua nodded, and left without any further ado. So, keep an eye on Zhou Shi from the Zhou family. Now that she has connections with Qi Shao, if you can take Zhou Shi as your wife, it will be much less troublesome for us. After Mo Tua left, Bai Ming Shang glanced over at Bai Ming Su and said, That girl's natural gifts are quite extraordinary, and she's also Zhou Su's little sweetheart, quite a capricious one. If you can rein her in, that old man Zhou Su won't be able to do a thing. They'll be bound to the Bai Ming family. No need to worry, one at a time. Bai Ming Su said with confidence. Nodding, Bai Ming Su continued. That Mu Yu Dai girl is also quite talented, but although her musical martial spirit is strong, it's not of much assistance to the polar ice flame martial spirit of our Bai Ming family. However, that Dialin has the blue martial flame martial spirit. It could be complementary to our family's martial spirit. So you have to keep a close watch on that girl, and if you can, bond with her. She might be able to give birth to an outstanding offspring of our Bai Ming family. Don't worry, Grandpa. The things I have my eye on can never escape from me. All right. Since they entered into our Bai Ming family, they can't even think about leaving. The Zhou family. Zhou Su was in his room, leisurely drinking tea. Behind him, a dark shadow suddenly knelt down and reported. Bai Ming Shang sent a messenger. He requested us to find a boy named Ding Yan, saying that he stole something from the Bai Ming family, and they will give us 5 mystery-level weapons for the boy. 5 mystery-level weapons. Zhou Su took a sip of tea and smiled. Bai Ming Shang is as stingy as usual. Using 5 mystery-level weapons, he wants to get the other half of the map to the Gate of Heaven. He's sure playing it well. Master, what should we do? Search for him, of course. Let our people spread the word in some cities. But don't put too much effort into it. Just finding some random dude named Ding Yan will do, just so that guy doesn't get suspicious. Understood. The Shi family. Shi Jian received the same message. He held the envelope and sneered. So Mo Tua has found Bai Ming Shang. Humph. Luckily that little brat Shi Yin told me the truth, or else I'd be in the dark about this too. Bai Mingshang, oh Bai Mingshang, you would never believe that Ding Yen is Shi Yen. Asking me to search him out, hee hee. Then I'll sure help him look. How? Han Feng said faintly. Find a few people connected to the Mo family, make them mute. Just say that they're all called Ding Yen and send them to the Baiming family. Yes. The Baiming, Zhua, Mo, Shi, and Ling families, as the Merchant Union's 5 great families, started to both openly and secretly search for a guy named Ding Yen in the nearby cities. In a short time, the name Ding Yen quickly became widespread. Many of those named Ding Yen were doomed, all taken by the 5 families, and many who were not named Ding Yen but were related to the Mo family also encountered unexpected calamities. They were beaten and crippled, forcibly muted, and escorted to the Baiming family. Since the martial competition was about to start, the warriors in the Merchant Union had been grinding their fists, and those warriors from far away were traveling thousands of miles to come to the martial competition. What was funny was that a lot of these warriors who came because their name was Ding Yen were immediately taken by the 5 families. After one night, Ding Yen became the street villain, and everyone wanted to beat him up. And the person who started all of this, Shi Yen, had been staying in the Shi family's heavyweight room, jabbing his hand into a metal sandbag tens of thousands of times a day. Pucci. Shi Yen jabbed his 5 fingers straight in, arm deep, into the center of the metal sandbag. He pulled out his arm, and those 5 fingers actually glinted with strange chilly light, as if they were blades made of steel, which was very frightening. The martial competition is about to start, and the storm from the misty pavilion is coming. Mai is finally having some success. Chapter 60, The Endless Sea. Chapter 60, The Endless Sea. At the Misty Pavilion. The Misty Pavilion was a mysterious power which primarily held auctions, selling all sorts of rare training materials for warriors. It had opened its only shop in Tianyin City in the Merchant Union. It was rumored that the Misty Pavilion was supported by warriors from the Endless Sea. The Endless Sea, a vast ocean, was located to the east of the Merchant Union. There were thousands of islands in the Endless Sea, which were scattered like stars. Some large islands were even vaster than the Fire Empire and the God-blessed Empire combined. Warriors from the Endless Sea rarely came to the Grace mainland, for they looked for higher things. There were numerous experts there, and they all had a powerful family or power behind them. It was said that there were even expert warriors who were above the spirit realm. On that day, at the entrance of the Misty Pavilion, stood the manager. Ku Luo was a warrior of the first sky of the Nirvana realm, and had been in charge of the Misty Pavilion for many years. For many people, Ku Luo was the master of the Misty Pavilion. But today, Ku Luo was standing with several important members of the Misty Pavilion, seeming to wait for someone important. Time passed. It was dusk. Though Ku Luo had waited for a whole day, he didn't show any impatience on his face. "Father, how long do we have to wait? Who are we waiting for?" Ku Luo's only son, Ku Ban, grunted in discontent. "This guy is too pretentious. He is making us wait for so long. Kid, you were born in the Merchant Union, so you have no idea how big the world is. Don't think that the Baiming family is the biggest family on the mainland. Compared to the prominent families in the Endless Sea, the Baiming family is nothing." Ku Luo stared at his son and said coldly, "I am from the Endless Sea, and it was the Xia family who sent me here to take charge of the Misty Pavilion. The person we are waiting for is Xia Xinyan of the Xia family. She is my master. If it weren't for the fragmented map of the Sky Gate, she wouldn't even spend her precious time visiting us from thousands of miles away." "Father, aren't we at the center of the Grace mainland?" Ku Ban was stunned. After a long while, he asked in surprise, "Here? The center of the Grace mainland?" Ku Luo sneered as he shook his head. "The Fire Empire, the God-blessed Empire, and the Merchant Union are on the outskirts of the Grace mainland. How would they be at the center of it Remember, the Grace mainland is far more vast than what you imagined. Well, the so-called experts here are merely considered low-level warriors outside this country. What? Kuban couldn't believe what he heard. As the sun faded gradually, the moon climbed up the dark sky. Under the bright moonlight, Kuban was still waiting patiently. At midnight, 3 shadows appeared from the long street. Under the red lanterns on the roadside, the 3 shadows looked like hideous ghosts swaying spookily. Here they are. Listen, don't utter a single word. Ku Luo announced in a low voice. The person in the lead was a slim woman wrapped up by a black gown and a broad bamboo hat, so her face could not be seen. Beside that woman were 2 giant men who were about 2 meters tall and looked exactly the same. They were twins. The 2 huge tower-like men had dark skin and a masculine aura, but they moved really fast, giving the impression that they weighed nothing. Miss, you have finally arrived. Ku Luo bowed and said respectfully, Ku Luo has been waiting for you for a long time. Let's get inside first. A melodious voice came from under the bamboo hat. That woman didn't waste one more word. As her slim body passed Ku Luo and directly headed inside the misty pavilion, it looked like she could be the master wherever she was. Yes, Mississippi. Ku Luo nodded with a smile. Then he followed her at her pace, feeling relieved. In the inner garden of the misty pavilion, in a quiet room, the women in the black gown sat down on the seat at the center of the room, which was prepared for the master. After the 2 huge men found their positions to stand behind her, she waved her hands. Ku Luo stays here. Everyone else is dismissed. Leave us alone. Ku Luo announced to those men loudly, and specially stared at his son, Kuban. Ku Luo was the manager of the Misty Pavilion, so after his announcement, they quickly left the room. Ku Luo entered and gave a salute to the woman, then quickly took out an account book from his chest pocket, handing it to the woman with 2 hands. This is the accounts for the past 10-some years. Miss, please check. Well, put it away. I haven't come for the accounts. Then she leisurely waved her hand and took off the bamboo hat. An extremely beautiful face appeared. She frowned with her pretty eyebrows and said softly, Show me the fragmented map. Yes. Ku Luo immediately took out the fragmented map of the Sky Gate from underneath his clothes and handed it to her respectfully. Xia Xinyan picked the map with her jade-like fingers, glanced at it once and nodded softly. Good. From its old look it seems to be authentic. Miss, there are also 3 nutrition pills and 1 blood magical crystal, which were sent by the immortal Yang family through empty strategy. They said it's for you. Ku Luo took out those things mentioned before and handed them respectfully to Xia Xinyan. Miss, it's enough for you to handle the situation here with the 3 nutrition pills. You will be heavily hurt every time you operate the incarnation martial spirit, but with these you will be fine. Well, the Yang family is literally generous and pretentious. Xia grunted. The Misty Pavilion doesn't belong to the Xia family exclusively. The Yang family is also a heavy stockholder. They don't even send a man here, but 3 nutrition pills? Haha, they trust me so much. As she spoke, Xia Xinyan put away the 3 red, Longan-sized nutrition pills. Stroking the blood magical crystal, she asked, And what about this blood magical crystal? The Yang family has requested you to look for a person. The family head of the Yang family, Yang Qingdi, said his grandson Yang Hai is still alive in this place, as he perceived through the skill. So he has asked you to find him. The 3 nutrition pills are payment. Ku Luo lowered his head as he answered in a low voice, not daring to look at her. What? Xia Xinyan exclaimed in indignation, and she said coldly, I wondered why they were so generous. They want me to do this difficult thing for them for 3 nutrition pills? Too bossy. Ku Luo kept his head lowered, not daring to say anything. Miss, 50 years ago, Yang Qingdi and his experts entered the 4th demon area, where his son, Yang Shao died in a battle. Moreover, Yang Zhao's wife gave birth to an infant there. After Yang Qingdi killed a demon king in the fourth demon area, the other 3 demon kings allied to chase him out, and his daughter-in-law died soon after. Yang Qingdi assumed he was about to die, so he broke the space with skill and threw that infant out of the fourth demon area. One of the huge men explained with his rusty voice, and then Xia Xinyan frowned slightly and asked nonchalantly. That huge man paused, thought for a while, and continued. After he threw out that infant, Yang Qingdi stayed in the fourth demon area for another 20 years, encircled by the other 3 demon kings. But luckily he escaped and came out of the fourth demon area alive, though he was badly hurt. Recently, Yang Qingdi finished his secret training and came out as a spirit realm warrior. He had saved 1 drop of blood from the infant when he threw him out of the fourth demon area, so he perceived through skill that his grandson is in the merchant union. That's why he sent the 3 nutrition pills as the payment. He cares about the Yang descendant. The 3 demon kings in the fourth demon area seem to have a big plan recently, so I guess Yang Qingdi has been too busy to search for the infant in person. The other huge man added. Yes, they sent a message that one of the 3 Shura kings, Xiaohani, had already set off from the Immortal Island with 50 Shura escorts. They will arrive in at most 1 month, and hope that you could find the infant before they arrive. Ku Luo said slowly with deference. Shura king Xiaohani, 50 Shura escorts. Xia Xinyan sneered. Seems like Yang Qingdi really cares about that infant. The Yang family is so domineering in the endless sea, thus they offended a lot of people. For the past few years, they were busy fighting with the fourth demon area and lost a lot of descendants who possess the immortal martial spirit. That infant is Yang Qingdi's direct grandson, left by Yang Shao. Sure enough, he takes it to heart. One of the huge men responded. Ku Luo, from now on, I will take charge of the Misty Pavilion, and you will go look for his grandson discreetly. The Shura king, Xiaohani, is coming. I can't take the 3 nutrition pills if we can't find Yang Hai before he arrives. You understand? Xia Xinyan looked at Ku Luo indifferently. Yes, I got it. Ku Luo nodded. I will keep the blood magical crystal. After you find all those men called Yang Hai, bring them to the Misty Pavilion, and then with Yang Qingdi's blood magical crystal, we will know who is the Yang Hai we want. Xia Xinyan said with an indifferent face as she stroked the blood magical crystal. Okay, I will go right away. Ku Luo bowed and left. While sighing to himself bitterly, the 5 big families are looking for Ding Yan, and I have to go look for Yang Hai. It's so boisterous in the Merchant Union. Chapter 61. Leaders of the Third Generation. Chapter 61. Leaders of the Third Generation. The Merchant Union was becoming quite lively. The 5 families were still trying to find a guy named Ding Yan when the Misty Pavilion also stepped in, searching everywhere for someone named Yang Hai. But the Misty Pavilion was not as outrageous in their search. They adopted the bribing method. As long as you can prove that your name is Yang Hai, you can come to the Misty Pavilion to receive 1,000 purple crystal coins. Since the martial competition was about to be held, there was an endless stream of people in the Merchant Union. Although the actions of the 5 families and the Misty Pavilion confused many, most people still came for the martial competition. Quickly, the restaurants and inns of Tianyin City were packed. The warriors and mercenaries that come from the Dark Forest, Dead Swamp, and Cloud Mountain were all hardened fighters. Even in Tianyin City, they were restless, often causing conflicts and killing each other. Be it day or night, there were more than enough fighting warriors in Tianyin City. Every morning, the cleaning staff would often find new corpses in the ditches. 3 more days remained until the martial competition. Early in the morning, Zuosu was resting with his eyes closed when he heard Zuosher speaking outside. "Huh, old man, you came. How many times did I tell you? Don't call me old man in front of others. From outside came Qi Zhao's frustrated voice. You are just a little old man. It's an old habit. I can't change it. Zhuo wasn't afraid of him, as she laughed outside the doors. Su was suddenly excited as he suddenly stood up and rushed out to greet the guest. You're finally here, he thought. The Shi family. In the heavyweight's room stood a wrinkled old crone. She held a paintbrush and was putting a few heavy marks on Shi Yan's brows. Shi Yan stood in silence, carefully watching the old crone's actions. After a long while, the crone took back her hand. She stared closely at Shi Yan for a while, and then nodded in satisfaction. During my visit every day, I have been changing his appearance slightly each time. Even those who are close to him wouldn't notice such slow changes. His appearance now is much different from how it was a month ago, and nobody would be able to recognize him. Shi Yan's skin was a lot darker now, his brows thick, and his figure looked quite a bit sturdier. From how he had looked before, he now looked less fierce and more rugged. Whether it be appearance or temperament, there was a significant change. Especially after coming back from the dark forest, he had grown taller and became more robust. Plus, he got fixed up by the disguise artist. Compared with the time when he was in the dark forest, he truly looked like another person. Shi Jian stared at Shi Yan for a moment, then nodded and said, Good, there should be no problem. Shi Yan observed himself in the mirror and was also quite satisfied. All right, isn't the martial competition starting? 3 more days, so you don't need to train hard these 3 days. Just relax a little bit. Shi Jian finally let go, but suddenly he thought of something, and then rebuked with a straight face. Relaxing does not mean fooling around. Don't think for a moment that I don't know what you and Han Zhong did together. If you waste your energy on women, I'll skin you alive. Stop nagging. Shi Yan looked annoyed and said, I'll go take a shower, then go drink a little with Han Zhong. Is that okay with you? Okay. Spring Pavilion. This was a very well-known restaurant in Tianyan City. Here not only was the food delicious, but they had the famous Flame, wine that was popular throughout the Merchant Union. Aside from that, the Spring Pavilion was also close to the Moon Lake. Sitting in the open 3rd floor of the Spring Pavilion, eating delicacies, drinking fine wine, and enjoying the beautiful view was a great pleasure in life. If you could hold a beauty in your arms at the same time, then that would be called perfection. However, not just anyone can get to the 3rd floor of the Spring Pavilion. Even if you were rich enough without status, you'd only be allowed up to the 2nd floor. The 3rd floor of the Spring Pavilion was usually reserved for guests from the 5 families. Only those from the 5 families could head straight to 3rd floor when they came in. Normal merchants would not have such an honor. Han Zhong led Shi Yan to the Spring Pavilion. After they arrived, a cute receptionist immediately came over smiling. Mr. Han, please step upstairs. Han Zhong squinted as his eyes circled the girl and complimented. Xiaofeng, your thing got a lot bigger. Then he stopped and lasciviously stared at the girl's breasts. You're the worst, Mr. Han, always staring at that place. The girl smiled shyly, having a style of her own. She pointed up and said, There are other guests up there. They're the young masters and mistresses of the Mo and Ling families. Mr. Han, you should be prepared. No worries. Han Zhong smiled and stopped teasing the girl. He grabbed Shi Yan and brought him straight up the 3rd floor. Hey! A tall lad wearing a Navy warrior outfit sat at a good seat on the 3rd floor and squinted at Han Zhong and sneered, Here, I was thinking, who could it be? And it's the Shi family's dog. That seat faces right towards the Moon Lake. There sat 4 people, 2 men and 2 women, all looking quite attractive. One of the group looked aloof and arrogant, and that was Mo Yenyu. But she wasn't looking this way. Her motionless eyes was only staring into the sun-blazed Moon Lake and looked like she was in a daze. Oh, so these are the worms of the Mo family, how fucking unlucky. Han Zhong shook his head, stopped paying attention to them, and dragged Shi Yan to find a good spot. He yelled, "Mr. Long, bring 4 jugs of flame and a nice course of dishes. Hurry up!" "Coming right up," a hearty voice answered from the second floor. At this time, Mo Yenyu, who was staring at the moon lake, looked like she finally woke up. She turned her head around and glanced at Han Zhong and Shi Yan. She threw a look of disdain, then turned her head back and continued staring at the lake water. Nobody knew what she was thinking. Across from Mo Yenyu sat a handsome young man. The young man had an amiable smile. While talking to one young master of the Mo family, he was also secretly paying attention to Mo Yenyu, as if trying to grab her attention with his words. However, he was unsuccessful. "Xiao Feng, Xiao Yu was recently punished by my father. She's been in a bad mood lately, don't mind her." Mo Zhan toasted him, and then said, "Don't care about him, let us drink more. The martial competition is about to start, so these few days we can slack off a bit. Treat yourself well." "Brother Zhan, when have you mistreated yourself?" Ling Yu shrewdly looked at Mo Zhan, with a cunning smile on her face. "I heard that Brother Zhan is great at going to those pleasure quarters. When would you enrich me a little on your experience?" Cough, cough, cough. Mo Zhan choked on his wine and said awkwardly, You, trust me, I'm innocent. I'm not familiar with those places. That was the only time I went was because I was tricked. You have to trust me." "Teehee, who knows if you're lying or not?" Ling Yu was still smiling, but her eyes showed some other expression. "A while ago, I was praised by my sisters. They said my fiancé already has dozens of mistresses before marrying me. They said I would have so many maids to serve me in the future. Oh, just thinking of it makes me happy." Cough, cough, cough. Mo Zhan's expression was a little stiff, his face darkened, and said, "Who is talking bad about me behind my back? If I find out who it is, I will skin him alive." "All right, you." Ling Xiaofeng glared at his sister. Brother Zhan is a man. Sometimes treating people with courtesy is inevitable. I trust Brother Zhan's conduct." "Of course you'd trust him." Ling Yu lightly snorted and murmured, quietly, "Everyone knows that you guys always go there together. Of course you would trust him." Upon hearing this, Mo Yenyu glanced over at Ling Xiaofeng, and her brows slightly furrowed, as if she was irritated. However, she didn't say much, and again turned her head towards Moon Lake, her expression growing colder. "I'll deal with you when we get home." Ling Xiaofeng glared at Ling Yu as he anxiously changed the topic and said to Mo Zhan, Brother Zhan, that Shi Tianyan is also in the third sky of the nascent realm. He's even better than Shi Tinka, and I heard he has been training very hard lately. At the last martial competition, he didn't show up, but this time he'll definitely be there. Even though you won against Shi Tinka that time, you shouldn't let down your guard this time around. Don't worry, those guys from the third generation of the Shi family can't be placed in my eyes." Mo Zhan smiled with arrogance, coldly glancing over to where Han Zhong was, and said, "Just watch, this year's martial competition. I'll cripple whoever comes in my way." "Yeah, sure enough. Brother Zhan has the heroic spirit." Ling Xiaofeng laughed. He held up his cup and said, "Come on, Brother Zhan, cheers." "Those 4 over there are Ling Xiaofeng, Ling Yu, Mo Zhan, and Mo Yenyu. They are all the leaders of the third generations of the Mo and Ling families, and they might become your opponents in the martial competition. Among them, Ling Xiaofeng and Mo Yenyu are engaged, and that Mo Zhan and Ling Yu are also engaged. Mo Zhan and Ling Xiaofeng are both at the third sky of the nascent realm. Mo Yenyu is slightly worse, but still has a cultivation of the second sky of the nascent realm." Han Zhong lowered his voice and explained the situation to Shi Yan. He paused and then said, "But the one you should least underestimate is that Ling Yu. We got the news a while ago that this girl broke through to the human realm half a year ago, and now she's the strongest one in the third generation of the Ling family. This year's martial competition, the Ling family might arrange to have Ling Yu fight against Zhuo. Apparently, to make Ling Yu win, the Ling family have spent a hell lot on her, not only buying the most expensive medicines, but they also gave her a few secret treasures to defend herself. Zhuo might be in a lot of trouble this time. Not necessarily. Shi Yan smiled, casually glancing at Ling Yu, and spoke in a low voice. Zhuo is much more fierce than she is. Just watch. She's going to lose really badly. Zhuo had now obtained the dragon turtle pills and plus the dragon turtle armor, which Han Zhong did not know about. With all these things to rely on, Zhuo had a 9 out of 10 chance of winning, and besides, Zhuo's realm was a little higher than Ling Yu's. That kid, what are you talking about? At this moment, Ling Yu suddenly stood up and sneered. Are you saying that I'm not as good as Zhuo? You think I didn't hear that? I'm telling you, my hearing is clear as ever. Talking about people behind their backs, people from the Shi family, are you all this dirty? Chapter 62, Unrecognized. Chapter 62, Unrecognized. Well, Zhuo is superior to you. You will definitely lose in the martial competition. You are doomed. Shi Yan glanced at Ling Yu indifferently without getting angry. I'm doomed. Ling Yu was furious as she sneered. Who do you think you are? Are you a prophet? Shi Yan shook his head and didn't talk to her again, showing no care for her. With a rigid face, Emo Zhan stood up from the table and strode toward Shi Yan. As he approached him, he yelled with his head high, Kid, who are you? I haven't seen you. You are from the Shi family too? You want to be ruined before the martial competition? Shi Yan turned serious as he lowered his voice and asked Han Zhong, Can I kill him? Han Zhong was totally frightened as he quivered suddenly and asked in haste, Brother Yan, what are you trying to do? Though he had been with Shi Yan for a long time, they had just sought out entertainment together. He only knew that Shi Yan recent got profound qi and reached the third sky of the nascent realm. Yet he hadn't seen him fight with others, so he had absolutely no idea how Shi Yan would react to the provocation. The fact that Shi Yan wanted to kill for such a trivial dispute totally frightened Han Zhong. He had never thought that this young master, who was the best at entertaining, would be so brutal in front of his enemies. Shi Yan glanced at the man, suggesting that he was going to take action. No. Han Zhong hurried to stop him with a face full of terror. He thought to himself, Though you are at the nascent realm, your opponent is an expert too. If you fight bluntly, I can't help you either. But if you get hurt and can't attend the martial competition, the family head will kill me. No. Definitely no. Seeing Shi Yan not persuaded, Han Zhong quickly explained, They are the hopes of the Mo family and the Ling family. If they were killed, the two families will sacrifice everything to get revenge. It will be tough as hell then. So cool down. Then can I cripple him? Han Zhong froze, rolled his eyes, and smiled bitterly. Brother Yan, please. If you really want to, then you can vent your frustrations in the martial competition. Who knows, you might also win back a mine for the Shi family. But for now, please don't be impulsive. Fine. Shi Yan didn't talk anymore. Instead, he stared at Emo Zhan in front of him and shouted loudly, What do you want? Kid, who are you? After he approached, Emo Zhan didn't fight. Instead, he gazed at Shi Yan coldly. You made my fiancé unhappy. Don't blame me for my rudeness if you don't tell me who you are. Seeing Emo Zhan there, Ling Yu sat down at the table, looking in this direction with cold eyes, and felt surprised. Her hearing was superior to others. Hence, even though Shi Yan and Han Zhong lowered their voices, she was still able to hear the words kill and cripple. Who on earth is that arrogant guy? Ling Yu was bewildered. Since she didn't know who Shi Yan was, she decided to be cautious. As the martial competition was around the corner, she guessed that he was some expert invited by the Shi family, so she couldn't do anything now. Young masters, please don't fight in my spring pavilion. I beg you, okay? Just then, the stout manager Long of the spring pavilion bowed, as he came up to the third floor. Behind him, several pretty young girls were holding the dishes and wine ordered by Han Zhong. You will know who I am in the martial competition. Shi Yan didn't bother to respond to him, but waved at those shy girls and said, Come here, display my dishes. I want to have a good meal. The girls were frightened. They didn't dare walk up, but pleadingly stared at Manager Long. After Manager Long made an eye contact to them, the girls hurried to serve the dishes on the table and dashed away immediately like frightened birds. Shi Yan looked indifferent as he opened a jar of wine by himself, filled his wine cup, and drank it up at once. He began to eat, not paying any attention to Emo Jean, who was still standing beside him. Young Master Emo, it's not the first time you've been to the Spring Pavilion. I am always good to you. Please don't make a fuss, okay? Manager Long bowed as he persuaded Emo Jean with a miserable face. Well, Manager Long, for you I won't fight today. Emo Jean grunted and sneered at Shi Yan, who was eating happily. Kid, be prepared in the competition. Okay, I can't wait. Without raising his head, Shi Yan kept drinking and filled another cup for Han Zhong. Come on, old Han, let's drink. Emo Jean stared at Shi Yan angrily and then left for his own table. Emo Yenyu was paying attention in this direction for quite some time. Her bright eyes wandered over Shi Yan curiously. After Emo Jean came back, she withdrew her gaze and looked to the green moon lake, forgetting the episode entirely. Dang, dang, dang. Just then, heavy footsteps sounded from the stairs, which was followed by Bai Ming-su's voice. Xiao Dai Yalan, the courses in the Spring Pavilion are famous in Tianyin City. You too should have a good taste this time. Well, the flame wine is strong, but it's really different. You can't afford to miss it. Then Bai Ming-su showed up, closely followed by Mu Yudai and Di Yalan. Well, it seems I must have a try at the flame wine. Hee, I can just drink a little. Mu Yudai was in a white dress, which made her look extraordinarily fresh. She came up slowly to the third floor. Di Yalan was behind her, looking a little gloomy, seemingly lost in her worries. Shi Yan, who was drinking, showed a panicked expression on his face as he heard that voice, but quickly went back to normal. Without taking a look at them, he kept drinking with Han Zhong with his head lowered. Han Zhong was astonished as he saw Mu Yudai and Di Yalan, for he was a little worried Shi Yan would make trouble again. Oh, customers here? Bai Ming-su glanced over the two tables and continued indifferently, and all acquaintances. The four people, including Ling Xiaofeng and Emo Jean, became perturbed as they saw Bai Ming-su. They barely smiled and nodded to Bai Ming-su as a greeting. Ling Xiaofeng and Emo Jean also glanced over Mu Yudai and Di Yalan secretly after they nodded at Bai Ming-su, and showed a surprised face at the same time. Han Zhong stood up and nodded at Bai Ming-su as well with a smile. You are not occupied today, young Master Su? Hee, I heard that you rarely stepped out of your home recently. Well, two beauties came and brightened my home. I found it hard to leave. Bai Ming-su smiled slightly, took a look at Shi Yan, who was still drinking, and turned to Mu Yudai. Let's take a seat first. Yes. Young Master Su, this way, please. Manager Long dashed up suddenly with a fat face full of smiles, as he chose a seat for Bai Ming-su and shouted downstairs. Old Gua, young Master Su is here today. Prepare the best dishes and wine. Be careful. Needless to say. Loud laughing sounds came from downstairs. Smiles went up from Bai Ming-su's mouth, as apparently he was satisfied with Manager Long's attitude. He said softly, Well, good enough, Manager Long, mind your own business now. I can take care of myself. Great. Well, I will cook 1 or 2 dishes for you personally, but I haven't cooked for a long time, so please forgive me if it doesn't taste good. Manager Long laughed. I'm too lucky. Bai Ming-su laughed as well, I'm so flattered to have dishes made by you. No matter how it tastes, I will eat it up gratefully. I'm too flattered, so I will go downstairs now." Manager Long bowed and asked, "Sure." Manager Long then bowed to leave. "I've finished." Mo Yinyu stood up suddenly. Ling Xiaofeng and Mo Zhan looked at each other and stood up as well. So did Ling Yu. The three followed Mo Yinyu and went toward the stairs. Before he left, Mo Zhan greeted Bai Ming Su. "Brother Su, take your time. I'm afraid we have to leave first." "Yeah, take care." Bai Ming Su turned to him casually and continued to chat with Mu Yu Dai. Immediately, the four people from the Mo family and the Ling family disappeared from the third floor. While drinking, Shi Yan was also listening to Bai Ming Su and Mu Yu Dai chatting and got a little annoyed. So he yelled at Han Zhong, "Old Han, I'm done." "You?" "Long ago." Han Zhong knew he was unhappy, so he stood up immediately and said to Bai Ming Su, "Young Master Su, we got to go." "Okay." Bai Ming Su responded indifferently without raising his head, and continued to talk with Mu Yu Dai. "Let's leave." Han Zhong pulled Shi Yan. Then they walked toward the stairs. Before he went downstairs, Shi Yan paused at the corner, glanced over at Mu Yu Dai and Diaolin coldly, and then disappeared. Bai Ming Su didn't feel that glance as he sat with his back to Shi Yan. Neither did Mu Yu Dai, for she was talking with Bai Ming Su. Only Diaolin raised her head randomly and happened to see Shi Yan's glance. Out of it, she saw some familiar coldness and scorn. Diaolin was surprised and dumbstruck. After a very long time, she shook her head softly and sighed to herself. "Why am I so stupid? How could that guy be him? Except the eyes, they resemble by nothing. They were two different people. What am I thinking about? What's wrong with me?" Chapter 63, The Martial Competition. Chapter 63, The Martial Competition. Tianyin City, the Godstone Square. A small hill-sized, diamond-shaped meteorite stood tall in the Godstone Square. More than half of the meteorite was sunk deep into the ground, and the part that was visible was hundreds of meters tall, making it look very magnificent. Legends say that this was a piece of the meteorite that fell from the sky thousands of years ago. It crashed right here, where at the time there was no Tianyin City, but merely a piece of wasteland. It was said that after the meteorite fell from the sky, in the beginning, every night under the glistening moonlight, the meteorite would emit a bright silver light. Later on, this silver light started to dim day by day, and in the last 10 years, the meteorite has never shone, appearing just like a normal rock. The people of the Merchant Union treated this meteorite as a godstone and established Tianyin City around it. It has been many years since then, and now Tianyin City has become a big city and the center of the Merchant Union. However, even though the meteorite stopped shining in silver brilliance, for the warriors of the Merchant Union, it was a blessing from God, and thus the meteorite was zealously treated as a godstone. The Godstone Square was also built from that meteorite. In the Merchant Union, many couples would come to the Godstone Square and make their vows, with the Godstone as a holy witness to their love. Every martial competition in the Merchant Union was held in the Godstone Square. On this day in the Godstone Square, there was an endless stream of crowds. Outside the square there were countless vendors, many of whom were warriors selling mostly items that were associated with cultivation. In the Godstone Square, in front of that enormous meteorite, were 16 battle arenas. Each one was about 100 square meters and was made out of solid green iron. Even warriors in the human realm wouldn't be able to break it using all their strength. Around these 16 battle arenas stood 5 tall stone towers. One of the towers was 50 meters tall, while the other 4 were 40 meters tall. These 5 towers were equally spaced 100 meters apart in distance, and on those towers stood the people from the 5 families, who were able to view all 16 arenas below. On one of the stone towers, Shi Yan stood next to Shi Jian, condescendingly looking down upon all the participants around the God Stone Square who came to compete in the martial competition. This stone tower belonged to the Shi family, which was 40 meters tall. The other 4 were for the Baiming, Ling, Zhuo, and Mo families. The stone towers belonging to the Ling, Zhuo, and Mo families were also 40 meters tall, just like that of the Shi family. However, the Baiming family was an exception. Their tower was 50 meters high, a whole lot taller than the other 4 families' towers. Just from the height of the stone towers, it could be seen that the Baiming family held an absolutely strong position in the merchant union. This was the first day of the martial competition. The direct descendants of the Shi family, Shi Jian, Shi Tai, and Shi Dang, were all on the stone tower by this time. The Han brothers, Han Feng and Han Zhong, were also in the stone tower, plus a few other strangers that Shi Yan didn't know. Through Han Zhong's introductions, Shi Yan learned that those were the loyal subordinates of the Shi family. They usually worked in the city, but were called here because of the martial competition. However, Yang Hai was not in the stone tower, and that was because Yang Hai did not practice martial arts. When the martial art masters of the other cities were called here, Yang Hai had to go and take charge in case any problems come up while the martial competition was being held. Every year's martial competition was separated into 5 categories: elementary, nascent, human, disaster, and earth. However, in the category of Earth Realm, there would usually only be one figurehead. Usually, even the warriors who were unaffiliated to any power, when they managed to reach the Earth Realm, they would have certainly gained their own cultivation opportunities. It was unlikely for them to covet the prizes given by the 5 families. An Earth Realm warrior, whether in the Merchant Union, the Fire Empire, or the God-Blessed Empire, would be considered a master. Such warriors wouldn't need to compete in the martial competition to obtain a nice cultivation environment. They can just go to any powerful force to become a dedicated warrior. Even if an Earth Realm warrior didn't join any power, the major forces would still reach out their arm, hoping to recruit the warrior. Because of this, even though the martial competition set a competing category for Earth Realm warriors, but the warriors that actually came to participate were nearly non-existent. Even the warriors who reached the Disaster Realm would rarely come to the martial competition. Every year, there would only be a few warriors that would show up. The ones who really came for the martial competition were mostly at the elementary, nascent, or human realms. These 3 kinds of warriors with lower capabilities were the majority, as they often couldn't find their own cultivation opportunities. Therefore, they would have to participate in the martial competition in the hope to win some precious cultivation materials, or to obtain a nice position in one of the 5 families. The martial competition usually lasted for 5 days. The first 4 days were generally for the warriors who came for the prizes. These people would be watched by the 5 families. Throughout the 4 days of fighting, the families would choose their favorite warriors and reach out to them. The last day, however, would be the highlight of the martial competition. On this day, the 5 families would send their best dedicated warriors and descendants to go compete with the masters of the other families. The 5 families would test each other's power on the last day of the martial competition. This day was also the day when the 5 families would show their strength to others. And on this day, the fighting was often accompanied with the enormous conflicts of interests and profits, and earth-shaking gambles would often happen. Mines, commercial streets, treasures, and even bizarre martial skills could become the stakes of the 5 families. Just one martial competition could lead to one family gaining the most extravagant riches, and could also reduce a family's savings to nothing. The last day of the competition would become a topic that people would talk about for years to come. This day, the masters from the different families would expose their true capabilities, showing rare martial spirits. Also in the intense fighting, different secret treasures might also show up. Most warriors who came from the outside were also here for the last day of the martial competition. From the fights on last day of the martial competition, They could find out the difference between them and the warriors of the 5 families. Through watching the fierce battles, they could understand their own inadequacies and find the ways to improve their standards and capabilities. And they might even be able to raise their own strength through the battles from the martial competition. This was why the martial competition attracted so many people. Shi Yan stood on the stone tower serenely, condescendingly looking down upon the arenas and the many warriors who came to participate. 200 meters away on the tower of the Baiming family, 2 beautiful figures followed Baiming Su up the high tower. On the high tower, Mu Yu Dai and Di Yalin stood side by side with Baiming Su. Together, they were looking over all of the arenas. Mu Yu Dai wore a white dress, her hair flying in the wind. On the tall tower, her beautiful posture made her look like a fairy on the mainland. Di Yalin was still in that crimson armor. Her hot body was visible underneath the coverage of that armor, made her figure look very seductive. Only her eyes looked troubled. From 200 meters away, Shi Yan slightly raised his head and shot a glance at the 2 girls, secretly smiling in disdain. Kid, these 4 days you better carefully watch. You lack experience, so you need to watch how the others fight. Don't just mess around. As Shi Jian caught him staring at the 2 girls on the Baiming family's tower, he snorted as he became displeased. Women are everywhere, and with what you have, what woman can't you get in the future? Don't get distracted before you become strong. Yes, I know what I'm doing. Shi Yan nodded. Brother, Crow from the Misty Pavilion has come to see you. Shi Tai, who stood near the staircase entrance of the stone tower, suddenly shouted. Crow! Surprise flashed across Shi Jian's face. He blanked out for a second, but then nodded. Invite him up. Grandpa, how's the situation at the Misty Pavilion? Shi Yan lowered his voice and secretly asked. Shi Jian slightly nodded and said, You shouldn't care much about this. Don't mention it next time, understand? Okay. Looking at his expression, Shi Yan knew that Zhusu and him must have sorted out all the details. But as Han Feng and all the dedicated warriors were on the tower, Shi Yan was confused as to whether the Shi family sent anyone to help Qi Shao at the Misty Pavilion or not. Crow came up with a smile as he calmly walked next to Shi Jian and said, Head of the Shi family, I have come to request help from you. I'm wondering where your son Yang Hai is right now. I want to invite him to the Misty Pavilion. Is that all right? Yang Hai. Shi Jian's expression darkened as he snorted, but said in confusion, The Misty Pavilion has been trying to find people named Yang Hai everywhere. What are you trying to do? A friend of mine has come from the Endless Sea. Her older relative lost an infant a very long time ago. The infant is called Yang Hai, and so they requested me to look around for him. Thus I ask for your help, Master Shi. Shi Jian's heart skipped a beat, and his eyes flashed with a strange, unknown expression. After quite a while he finally shook his head and responded, Yang Hai is not in Tianyin City right now because I called many people back for the martial competition. Yang Hai has been taking charge in another city. We'll talk about this some other time. Sure, as long as you'd remember, Master Shi. Crow didn't urge deliberately and smiled. When he comes back, please allow him to come to the Misty Pavilion. Master Shi, haha. Don't worry, I won't let him run all this way for nothing. Okay. Shi Jian indifferently nodded. Then I will take my leave. Crow didn't stay for long, and after the issues were negotiated, he left straight away. Melodious and soothing music came from the tower of the Baiming family. The heartwarming sound of nature immediately rang throughout every corner of Godstone Square. Mu Yu Dai sat cross-legged on the stone tower of the Baiming family, absorbed in playing the zither. Many warriors who came to the martial competition were attracted by this ethereal music, and their expression was full of fascination as they looked up at the Baiming family stone tower. Next to Mu Yu Dai was Baiming Su, his expression full of pride, and the corner of his lips showed a trace disdain for all living things. He stood there and accepted the admiring and envious gazes from the many warriors. Mu Yu Dai's music was like a mountain stream, flowing into the hearts of the warriors, as if cleansing their souls. Just with one song, the warriors were mesmerized, their faces stunned. Then, at this moment, Bai Mingshang suddenly flew from the tall tower. His magnificent figure magically floated on the sky above the Godstone Square, like a god looking down on all human beings. He shouted, "The martial competition officially starts!" Walking in midair, Sky Realm Warrior. Many warriors screamed out one by one, their expression in awe, shocked by the capabilities shown by Bai Mingshang. Chapter 64, The Medicine King Mu Sun. Chapter 64, The Medicine King Mu Sun. In the martial competition field, dozens of warriors of various realms were competing vigorously in different areas. Streams of bizarre light exploded on the field one after another, as if magical snakes were shuttling above the competition field. The participants were performing all sorts of rare martial skills, and some even startled those people from the 5 big families. In the high building of the Shi family, standing next to Shi Jian, Shi Yan's eyes were glistening as he cast his eyes upon those fighting warriors one by one. As the head of the family, Shi Jian was standing beside him and explaining for him. As long as Shi Yan showed some interest in one competition area, Shi Jian would soon elaborate on the strength of the 2 parties, their martial skill levels, their competing strategies, and also teaching him the best way to win the fight. In the stone building, Shi Tai was also illustrating the situation on the competition field, explaining the various martial skills, their advantages and disadvantages, the opponent's weaknesses, and how to beat them. As the leaders of the Shi family, Shi Jian and Shi Tai rarely talked on a normal day, but today they almost never stopped talking. Shi Yang and Shi Tianshao were also standing in a corner, while Shi Yang was pointing the warriors in the competition field to Shi Tianshao, the latter nodding and asking accordingly. Some ministers who came back from other cities, and those experts from their family branches, were all observing the stone building quietly. As they saw Shi Jian explaining to Shi Yan wholeheartedly, they were very confused. "Old Feng, who is that kid? Why does family head treat him so specially?" Standing beside Han Feng, Ku Long observed them for a long while, and finally couldn't help but ask him about Shi Yan. Ku Long was one of the ministers of the Shi family who was at the first sky of the Nirvana realm. Since he was garrisoned in another city, he didn't know much about the latest news on Shi Yan. Seeing Shi Jian lay so much stress on Shi Yan, he was quite confused. "That is young Master Yan." Han Feng looked indifferent as he glanced at Ku Long and said, "The one who used to be always absent from home and busy studying those historic relics." "Yeah, Yang Hai and Miss Qing's son." "That's impossible." Ku Long was totally shocked as he asked in surprise, "The young master never trained in martial arts, did he? As far as I know, he was more attracted to those odd things and never set his eyes upon martial arts. Why would the family head pay attention to him? Young Master Yan is no longer the person he used to be." Han Feng narrowed his eyes and said casually, "You'd better try your best if young Master Yan asks you to do something. It would in your best interests." Though Han Feng knew a lot, he talked little. He wouldn't have said anything if Ku Long wasn't his good friend. Ku Long knew Han Feng's personality. He was surprised at Han Feng's speech, and after a long silence he nodded softly. He was still confused, but realizing that Shi Yan was favored by the family head, he decided to try and get close to Shi Yan. Apart from Ku Long, many other ministers and Shi branch families were also secretly discussing about Shi Yan, as they were all confused why the family had paid so much attention to that unknown boy. Soon Shi Yan was known to all. This boy, who hadn't been treated specially for 17 years, was now at the center of the Shi family. "Grandpa, did Xiao Yan become a warrior for real?" And has he reached the third sky of the nascent realm? Seeing Shi Jian favor Shi Yan so much, Shi Tianke, who was standing next to Shi Tai, finally asked. Shi Tai took a glimpse at them and nodded. It is great, Shi Yan is amazing. He has reached the third sky of the nascent realm now. He may participate in the martial competition this year. Shi Tai had been focusing on his 3 grandsons recently, so he didn't pay much attention to Shi Yan. He merely knew that Shi Yan had gained the family martial spirit and reached the third sky of the nascent realm. However, he didn't know that Shi Yan had also gained the immortal martial spirit, so he still considered that Shi Jian was putting way too much energy into him, but he didn't place any further thought into it. After all, Shi Yan was his brother's direct grandson, and Shi Tianshao was useless. Now that Shi Yan reached the third sky of the nascent realm, he thought it was reasonable for Shi Jian to be overexcited. He was not aware that Shi Yan possessed twin martial spirits, and that his petrification martial spirit had advanced to the second stage. Tianyin, you should fight against Mo Zhan this year. Last time Tianke lost to him, so your fight will be crucial this time. Or they would assume that we don't have any talented descendants among the 3rd generation. Shi Tai said to Shi Tianyin, who was standing beside him. Yes, I will beat Mo Zhan for sure. Shi Tianyin said with certainty. Shi Tianyin was only 19 years old, but he had reached the third sky of the nascent realm. He was just like a newborn calf who wasn't afraid of a tiger. Before Shi Yan was noticed, he was the pride of the Shi family, and Shi Jian would guide him in person now and then. But ever since Shi Yan came back, Shi Jian seldom visited him. Shi Yan spent 17 years discovering ancient languages and seldom stayed at home. He didn't train in martial arts, so there was no conflict between him and other people. Thus Shi Tianyin never cared about him. However, Shi Yan stood out now, and Shi Jian's attitude had shifted too much, which made Shi Tianyin a little uncomfortable. Yet the Shi family had the formidable outside opponents, such as the Mo family and the Ling family. So the Shi family members, including Shi Jian and Shi Tai, stuck together and got along well. The second generation also allied to defend against the Mo family. Shi Tianyin and Shi Tianshao often played around. Thus, although Shi Tianyin was a little uncomfortable, he didn't show a strong reaction. But he had made up his mind to have a perfect performance in the competition and secure his position as the hope of the Shi family. Shi Jian suddenly cried as he was talking to Shi Yan, and his eyes brightened and quickly looked over to someone. Something had suddenly occurred beside the competition field. Who came? Shi Yan frowned, walked up and looked in the direction of Shi Jian. A troop of 7 people were walking in slowly from outside the Godstone Square. The man in lead looked around 50, with a hawk nose, gloomy face, delicate cap, and a silver gown, on the left shoulder of which was embroidered 5 types of herbs. Level 5 Soul Alchemist. Shi Yan identified him only by a quick glimpse. Just like martial skills, alchemists were divided into 5 levels: mortality, mystery, soul, royalty, and divinity. Karu, who was killed by Shi Yan in the dark forest, was a mere mortality level alchemist, but was treasured by the Mo family. Now that a soul level alchemist had appeared, he must be an influential one. This is Karu's teacher, the medicine king Mu Sun. Shi Jian glanced over Shi Yan. He is not only an alchemist of the soul level, he is also a warrior of the second sky of the Nirvana realm. And the Medicine Valley is a special institution too. Though it doesn't get involved in fights between various parties, it is closely connected to them. The fact that Karu was killed by Shi Yan was known to only a few people. And now that Shi Yan had faked his appearance, fewer people knew his real identity. Shi Jian didn't worry that Mu Sun would recognize Shi Yan, so he sneered and gloated. Well, I guess Mu Sun came to look for his stolen, fragmented map, and Karu entered the dark forest with people from the Mo family. Mu Sun will definitely ask Mo Tua about that. Haha, this should be an interesting show. The Medicine King, Mu Sun. The warriors in the competition field soon recognized this foreign visitor, as they cried out in surprise and cleared the way for him. Many other warriors squeezed their way forward and shouted crazily, "Medicine King, I collected lots of herbs. Please refine me a pill. Please." As soon as the flock heard that, the competition field boiled with excitement. More and more people shouted, asking for Mu Sun's help. People's attention were drawn to Mu Sun at once, and no one set their eyes on the competition field anymore. On the buildings of the Baiming family, the Zhua family, the Ling family, and the Mo family, many couldn't sit still anymore. Lots of experts rushed down the buildings with their master's permission and ran to Mu Sun to invite him to watch the competition in their building. Without Shi Jian's permission, Shi Tai also rushed down. Suddenly, the Medicine King Mu Sun was crowded by the core members from the 5 big families, whose faces were full of smiles, hoping Mu Sun would go with them. Mu Sun will go to the Mo family. But nothing good will happen. Shi Jian gloated, just as expected. Ignoring Mo Chaoga, who was coming up to invite him, Mu Sun soon walked toward the Mo family building silently with a rigid face. Mo Chaoga didn't dare be angry and followed him smiling and bowing. Chapter 65, Undercurrent. Chapter 65, Undercurrent. Mo family head, how is my despicable disciple Karu? After walking up the Mo family stone tower, Mu Sun asked directly. His voice was not loud, but everyone in the Godstone Square heard him clearly. Standing on the stone tower of the Mo family, Mo Tuo was in total dismay. Being bluntly questioned in public by Mu Sun, Mo Tuo was embarrassed. He wanted to deal with him in private, but apparently Mu Sun was having different thoughts. Being pushed hard, Mo Tuo had to reply loudly, "Mr. Mu, Karu died long time ago. I also don't know who killed him." Mu Sun stood proudly against the railing of the stone tower, and thus his figure could be easily seen once the warriors at the bottom of the tower raised their heads. "Dead." Mu Sun sneered and said sarcastically, "Mo family head really has his methods. Knowing that my despicable student stole my treasure map, you invited him to visit the merchant union and killed him halfway, and so you got the map. Now you pretend to know nothing. What a family head you are. Well, did you earn all the Mo family properties this way?" Haha, the whole merchant union knows Mo family head's methods. On the tower of the Shi family, Shi Jian laughed loudly and gloated. Many of the Shi family properties were snatched under the Mo family head's tactics. "Shi Jian!" 200 meters away, Mo Tuo stared at Shi Jian angrily. "This is none of your Shi family's business. Stop spouting nonsense." Ignoring him, Shi Jian continued, "Of course it's none of our business. I was just stating the truth. Don't be overly emotional, Mo family head." Standing aside Shi Jian smiled secretly, and for the first time he felt this old man was interesting and knew how to strike a man when he was down. Not being able to do anything about Shi Jian or be mad at him, Mo Tuo could only smile to Mu Sun modestly and explained, "I didn't know Karu had stolen your treasure map when we invited him to our home. And considering he is your student, we sent people to pick him up. We really didn't know that. Mr. Mu, don't blame the Mo family. Mistake." Mu Sun's face turned gloomier, and he sneered, "Your Mo family would have sent people to pick him up if you hadn't known that he stole my treasure map? The Medicine Valley is thousands of miles away from the Merchant Union. Who would believe that you traveled so far just for Karu's second-rate refining skill, but not for the treasure map? Humph." Mo Tuo was helpless as he explained, "Well, it was for his skill." Mo family head, "I don't need any more excuses from you. I don't care if Karu died or not. Just return to me my treasure map, and I will leave at once. I'm not interested in stirring up any trouble." Mu Sun became impatient. The treasure map is really not in my hands. Since you, the Mo family head, don't want to return that map, I have got nothing else to say. Mu Sun grunted and walked out, as he said coldly, though we, the Medicine Valley, don't get involved in the power struggles in various countries, we won't be bullied as you like. Mo family head, you'd better conduct yourself well. At once, Mu Sun walked down the tower directly with his people. Mr. Mu, you are welcome to visit the Sher family any time. We understand everything you talked about. Sher Jian's voice came from his tower, the overtone of which could be understood by everyone. Walking down the Mo family building, Mu Sun looked over at Sher Jian and nodded. I believe we will have the opportunity to cooperate. Please don't turn me down if I ask for some help from the Sher family. I, Sher Jian, hate those who always play tricks. It would be an honor to work for Mr. Mu. Sher Jian laughed loudly and saluted with cupped hands. Thank you, Sher family head. Mu Sun nodded and glanced up coldly at Mo Tua, who had an ugly face, and left the Godstone Square with his people. On the Godstone Square, the competitions had paused for a long while. Only after Mu Sun left did they continued. The competition this day became more interesting after Mu Sun's unexpected visit. Soon after Mu Sun left, people started discussing noisily and soon learnt the whole story. As a result, a hint of scorn and loathing could be seen amongst the crowd whenever the Mo family was mentioned. Many of those who had planned to associate with the Mo family changed their mind, and thus the Mo family lost numerous potential experts. Ku Luo, the manager of the Misty Pavilion, was also in the competition arena. He saw the conflict between Mu Sun and Mo Tua. Before the competition ended, Ku Luo secretly left for the Misty Pavilion, which was not far from the Godstone Square. At dusk, in a secluded room in the Misty Pavilion, Ku Luo bowed and elaborated the whole story to Xia Xinyan. After Ku Luo finished his speech, Xia Xinyan frowned and thought for a while, then said, If it is as Mu Sun says, then the other piece of the fragmented map must be in Mo Tuo's hands. I came here for the Sky Gate, so I don't care who I have to cooperate with. Ku Luo, go to the Mo family tonight and tell them we can share the map with them and work together to explore the Sky Gate. I understand. Ku Luo nodded. Sure, King Xiaohani will arrive in half a month, and you still haven't found the right guy. Hurry up. Xia Xinyan said casually. I will try my best. Ku Luo was a little astonished as he replied in awe. I've sent people to other cities to search. I believe we will find him soon. Good. Off now. Xia Xinyan waved her hand casually. Ku Luo bowed away. That night, Ku Luo visited the Mo family alone, asking to meet Mo Tua. Mo Tua was too angry, but since Ku Luo came, he had to lift his spirit to meet him. After Ku Luo revealed his purpose, Mo Tua shook his head with a bitter smile. The treasure map is truly not in my hands. I can offer you nothing, even if I want to cooperate with you. Mo family head, my master wants to work with you sincerely. To open the Sky Gate, we need the complete map. With our cooperation, we can take action at once. Please think about it. Ku Luo apparently didn't believe him as he turned serious. He guessed that Mo Tua might already have a plan about the Misty Pavilion, so he got a little angry. It is absolutely not in my hands. Don't believe Mu Sun. Mo Tua didn't look happy either, so he talked in an unpleasant way. Please leave now, mister. Ku Luo, I have to prepare for the martial competition. Please excuse me. At midnight, Ku Luo went back to the Misty Pavilion and told what Mo Tua said to Xia Xinyan. There are two halves of the treasure map, one of which is in my hand. Since the Mo family don't want to cooperate, they must want to possess it alone. I guess the Mo family will take action soon. Xia Xinyan's eyes looked cool as she added, I'm waiting for the Mo family to grab it. They would not cooperate with us honestly. Therefore, we must teach them a lesson. Miss, how about we grab that map from the MO family? One of the huge men behind Xia Xinyan asked. A murderous aura came from that huge man, which frightened Ku Luo a lot. Never mind, after all, this isn't our own home. Follow the rules. If all the 5 big families allied, it will be much more troublesome. However, when Shura King Xiaohani arrives and the MO family still doesn't step back, we will take action. Xia Xinyan observed indifferently. Okay. The huge man nodded, not saying any more. Well, Ku Luo, go and do your business. You can send out the message secretly that I have the other half of the map, and I will wait for them. Xia Xinyan smiled. Whoever comes to grab the map must have the other half. I got it. At deep night, at the Zhuo family, Zhuo Su and Qi Xiao were discussing in a secret room in a low voice. Shadow has brought the message that the map isn't in Ku Luo's hand, but in another girl's hand in the Misty Pavilion. That girl popped up all of a sudden. No one knows who she is. Zhuo Su said, wait till the last day. I will go to the Misty Pavilion during the competition among the 5 big families. It's just a little girl. No big deal. Qi Xiao nodded and smiled bitterly. It's so strange to fight against a little girl. Never mind. I will leave 1 or 2 pieces of treasure to her as compensation. But pay attention. Don't expose yourself. The map has been attracting so much attention that once you are exposed, it will be truly troublesome. Okay, I got it. That night, in the secret rooms of the 5 families, many were discussing about what had happened in the daytime. In a secret room of the Shi family. Holding an envelope, Shi Jian showed a weird smile as he said to Han Feng, who was beside him, Mu Sun is so quick that he sends a letter in 1 day. Hee hee. Now that Mu Sun is to take action against the Mo family, we need to do something to help him secretly, if not publicly. What does Mu Sun plan to do? He wants to kidnap some people of the Mo family and threaten Mo Tuo. Hee hee. His targets are just whom we want to give a lesson to. Shi Jian was very joyful. Brother Feng assigned someone to follow them and spill their trails to Mu Sun. Haha, I'm excited to watch how Mo Tuo will react. That fragmented map from Karu was right against his chest, so no matter how, Mo Tuo couldn't return it to Mu Sun. Those Mo family hostages would die for sure. Imagining Mo Tuo's furious face, Shi Jian was very amused as he said with a big smile, Also, go and get me a jar of wine. I want to have a good drink. Family head, all the delicate wine has been drunk by young Master Yin. The rest is all ordinary wine. Han Feng lowered his head as a shallow smile crossed his face. That little bastard. Shi Yin patted the armrest and cursed in laughter. That bastard is really audacious. How could he drink up my wine? I'm going to rip his skin if he doesn't have a good performance in the martial competition. With his petrification martial spirit at the 2nd stage, no warrior of the nascent realm could beat him. It's almost fact that young Master Yen will win the competition. Definitely. Well, that's true. Shi Jian laughed loudly in delight. Chapter 66, Fearless. Chapter 66, Fearless. *TL note: Sky Gate and Gate of Heaven have previously been used interchangeably. We will be sticking with Gate of Heaven from now on. It was now the 4th day of the martial competition. This day, all the warriors who came to participate were fiercely fighting for the top 3 places. Every rank's first 3 places would have a certain martial skill, secret treasure, or cultivation material as prizes. As long as you can place in the first 3, there's no way you would go home empty-handed. The 5 families were never stingy in giving prizes. They had prepared many profound level martial skills and secret treasures, as well as pills and cultivation materials that enhanced one's profound qi. On the morning of the 4th day, these lavish prizes were displayed on a round table in the middle of the arena, watched by specialized staff. The warriors were ecstatic upon seeing the prizes being displayed and were in full vigor to fight in the upcoming battles. By noontime, there were already 2 nascent realm warriors killed in the arena, and one at the human realm was crippled. According to the rules of the martial competition, when one side surrenders, the opposing party cannot continue the fight, which was why, as long as one wasn't too greedy, took what could be managed, and give up when the situation wasn't favorable, one would definitely live. The few warriors who were heavily injured or killed were all thinking that they could still keep fighting. They tried to turn the situation around when they were obviously at a disadvantage. That was why they had such miserable outcomes. On the Shur family's stone tower, there was a smile at the corner of Shur Jian's lips as he looked down on the arenas from high above, occasionally glancing at the Mo family's tower. Every time he would see Mo Tua with a dark expression, like his son died or something. In the past 3 days, many important figures in the Mo family had all mysteriously disappeared one by one. Mo Tua was full of anger, but due to the critical time of martial competition, he couldn't act arbitrarily. He knew exactly who's been doing this, but there was nothing he could do. The experts of the Mo family could only secretly try to find traces of Mu Sun's group, but unfortunately, they couldn't even find Mu Sun's shadow. And Mu Sun didn't send messengers either, so there was no way to negotiate. Kid, tomorrow is the martial competition for the 5 families. After watching for 4 days, have you gained anything? Shur Jian was in a great mood. He peered at Shur Yan, who was at his side, and spoke casually. Gains? Shur Yan looked indifferent and nodded. I definitely gained some things, but I'm only watching, so there's only a little to actually gain. Instead, I would like to go on the battlefield myself and fight to the death. Only the things you comprehend on the verge of death can be considered the greatest riches. Shur Jian was dazed. He stared at Shur Yan, and after quite a while he finally asked in astonishment, You little brat! You cultivated to the nascent realm in such a short time. Shouldn't you be lacking in battle experience? Why do I feel that you're already highly experienced? The insights on the verge of death are surely precious, but if you get killed, then all those insights would have been useless. Shur Yan grinned, but did not explain his words. Oh! Shur Jian suddenly exclaimed, his expression strange. He looked at the faraway tower of the Mo family. 200 meters away, in the tower of the Mo family, someone quietly whispered into Mo Tuo's ear. His face suddenly darkened to the extreme. Shockingly, he walked down the stone tower of the Mo family and walked straight towards the Shur family. On the Baiming family's stone tower, Baiming Shang also shortly received the news. He moaned, and then also walked down his stone tower and came towards the Shur family. In the arena, the warriors were still intensely battling. Many bystanders were confused by Baiming Shang and Mo Ta, who were walking towards the stone tower of the Shur family, wondering why these two were heading over to the Shur family's tower. In a short moment, the angry-looking Mo Ta got to the Shur family's tower first. Right after he climbed up the tower, Mo Ta immediately sprung up and screamed, Shur Jian! Where is Mu Sun? Oh. Shur Jian's expression darkened, and he sneered, How would I know where Mu Sun is? Mo Ta, you are asking the wrong person. Don't even try to pretend. Mo Tuo's expression was of resentment. Mu Sun is an outsider. Unless you and the Shur family secretly provided help, how could it be that our Mo family is unable to track him? Mu Sun is probably hiding in some manor of the Shur family. You better tell me exactly where he's hiding. Mo Tua, our family's business has nothing to do with you. Shur Jian snorted rudely. My son Chowga disappeared last night and hasn't been seen since. It has to be Mu Sun. If it's someone else, I might let it pass. But if Mu Sun dares to take Chowga, I won't take it easy. Mo Tua shouted in rage. After hearing that, everyone on the stone tower had a weird expression on their faces. They finally knew why Mo Tua was so furious. Mo Chowga was the strongest figure in the second generation of the Mo family. Not only did he have extraordinary capabilities, he was also very intelligent. Most of the machinations that the Mo family came up with were from this mastermind. The Sher family also had many people who suffered losses because of him. Mo Chowga could be described as the most capable person in the second generation of the Mo family. Now that such an important figure had also gone missing, Mo Tuo couldn't sit still anymore. He finally came to start the fight. Mu Sun was really ruthless. Sher Yan's heart skipped a beat. He knew now that Mo Tuo was not going to let this go. I don't know where Mu Sun is. Go spend some time and find him yourself. You're not welcome here. Sher Jian said indifferently. He was secretly happy inside, but he didn't stop insisting. Head of the Baiming family, Sher Tai exclaimed. Right at this moment, Baiming Shang slowly walked up the Sher family's stone tower. With furrowed brows, he came to the side of Sher Jian and Mo Tuo. Baiming Shang glanced at the two, then casually said, The marital competition is held by us 5 families. I hope everyone can keep calm and not make trouble during the martial competition. Others will ridicule us. My son Chowga is gone, Mo Tuo yelled. Baiming Shang's expression froze for a second. Then he said to Sher Jian, Master Sher, that Mu Sun is after all an outsider. Although we should treat him well on his visit to the merchant union, there is a limit. His approach of taking away Mo Chowga is truly too extreme. Master Sher, on this matter you should restrain yourself a little. Don't go overboard. Sher Jian's lips curled into a sneer, and his eyes coldly locked on Baiming Shang. He knew that the reason why Baiming Shang verbally spoke out for the Mo family was because the Mo family and Baiming Shang secretly had an agreement, with the common motive of exploring the gate of heaven. It looked like Baiming Shang stepped out to be the peacemaker, but he was actually supporting the Mo family. It's the same as I told you before. I don't know where Mu Sun is at. Sher Jian was sure tough. He scowled and kept denying any knowledge of Mu Sun. Baiming Shang's brows slowly furrowed. He nodded and intervened no more. He said nonchalantly, Anyway, what I wish is for you to stay kind to each other during the martial competition so you won't make the merchant union look bad. You too, take care. Sher Jian, by tonight, if you still don't send someone to tell me where Mu Sun is in tomorrow's martial competition, don't blame us for taking offense. Humph. Mo Tuos shouted and viciously scanned across the room at all 3 generations of Sher family descendants, including Sher Tianka and Sher Tianyan, as if saying, Watch out for the lives of your sons and grandsons. Mo Tuo, are you threatening me? Sher Jian's expression changed, and he sneered. If you screw around with things at tomorrow's martial competition, you too should not blame me for being ruthless. I don't care what you think. If I can't find Mu Sun, then just wait and watch what happens tomorrow. Mu Tuo took a deep breath in, stopped talking, and walked downstairs. Master Sher, you need to look at the big picture here. Baiming Shang said apathetically, as he shook his head and followed Mo Tuo down the stairs. Boom! Sher Jian punched the balcony of the stone tower, the rigid green iron receiving a huge, fist-shaped imprint from his punch. Even the whole stone tower, which was several meters tall, was shaking violently from the impact. Everyone from the Sher family who was standing on the tower clearly felt his rage. They're going too far. Sher Jian growled. No one knew if he's talking about Mo Tuo or Baiming Shang. Because of this little episode, Sher Jian's face was scary the whole day. At the end of that day of the martial competition, when he had to present the gifts to the winners, his expression was still ugly. That night, in the secret room, Han Feng bowed toward Sher Jian and said, Master, Mo Tuo and Baiming Shang are both giving us pressure now. What should we do? Don't worry about them. Sher Jian continued scowling. Master, we can let Mo Tuo slide, but Baiming Shang, Han Feng said hesitantly. Qi Shao is still in the city. If Bai Mingshang dares to mess with us, I'd go ahead and shamelessly ask Qi Shao to help me. I do not think Bai Mingshang would launch an attack on our family for that shitty Mo family. Shi Jian snorted. Understood. Chapter 67. The Battle Among the Families. Chapter 67. The Battle Among the Families. The next day, Godstone Square. In the early morning, while the sky was still dimly lit, a number of different warriors in Tianyin City had already gathered in the arenas of the martial competition. In the center of the Godstone Square, on one side of the arena, which was 100 square meters across, were large blocks of green stone. These green stones were stacked higher as they moved away from the center of the arena, so it would be more convenient to watch the fighting in the arena. Before the 5 families even got here, the green stones around that one arena especially made for the Battle of the 5 Families were already filled with crowds. Just as the sun rose, the warriors, the 5 families, started to arrive from all around Tianyin City. Shi Yan followed Shi Jian. Before they even got to Godstone Square, he could already see the massive crowds. These people were nearly all warriors, mostly in the elementary, nascent, or human realms, but there were some at the disaster or earth realms as well. These disaster and earth realm warriors might not have been interested in the martial competition, but the head-on fighting among the 5 families was enough to grab their attention. On the blocks of green stone around the arena, you could see many warriors whispering to each other. A lot of these warriors carried sturdy, looking heavy swords and battle axes. They could have been mercenaries who came from the dark forest. None of them showed up in the previous days, but today they came bright and early. When the Shi family's people appeared in the Godstone Square, the warriors in the square started murmuring and made a path for the Shi family. The Shi family hadn't even entered the center of the arena yet. But again those warriors turned their heads to the entrance of the Godstone Square and gasped in low voices. The Mo family, led by Mo Tua, all came towards the arena with grim expressions. Shi Jian snorted. Scowling, he silently led the Shi family towards the arena. This time, the 5 families were not going to watch the fights from far away in their stone towers. Instead, they would stay at the nearest distance from the arena to be able to observe every single detail, as if visiting the front line. On each side of the arena, the stone balconies were already set for them. The person waiting there saw Shi Jian, and immediately they came up smiling. Master Shi, please take your seat here. Shi Jian nodded, and he followed him to the side of the arena and sat on one of the stone chairs. Many different delicacies and fine wine were brought up on the stone table for Shi Jian and the Shi family members to enjoy. In a short moment, Mo Tua was also lead here. His seat was arranged right across from the Shi family. After Mo Tua sat down, he shot a freezing gaze towards the other side. No one knew what he was thinking about. When the sun's beams became a little brighter, the Zhou family and the Ling family also arrived. Right when Zhou Su got here, his seat was arranged next to the Shi family. Zhou Su sat down, then lightly nodded at Shi Jian, indicating that everything's going well with the Misty Pavilion, and they communicated in silence. The Ling family was friendly with the Mo family, so naturally they were arranged to be sat together. When Ling Xiaofeng got here, he even smiled while walking over to the Mo family's side, comforting the gloomy-looking Mo Chan, and found an opportunity to talk to Mo Yinyu. Mo Chaoga, who went missing, was Mo Zhan's father. Knowing that his father was taken, Mo Zhan had been containing his anger for a while, just waiting for his bloody revenge in the martial competition. When the sun rose high above the sky, Bai Mingshang finally arrived with the masters of the Bai Ming family. Bai Mingshang's expression was cold, and a freezing energy swirled around his body. Wherever he went, the warriors of the Merchant Union all respectfully made the path for him. Behind him was Bai Ming-su, who looked arrogant, followed by Mu Yudai and Di Yaolin. The person arranging seats was a slave of the Bai Ming family, and upon seeing his master, he naturally gave him the best seat. Bowing, he invited Bai Ming-shang and Bai Ming-su to sit, then immediately called the servants to bring up the delicacies and fine wine. Both the quality and amount of the luxurious food was obviously better than the other four families. The superior position of the Bai Ming family in the union was, as always, unobstructed. After the 5 families had taken their seats, Bai Ming-shang moaned, then said nonchalantly, "The rules are the same every year, and I'm not going to say much. The martial competition is only a way to communicate and learn from each other. I hope everyone can restrain themselves as much as possible. Hopefully no one gets killed." The heads of the other 4 families all lightly nodded. Bai Ming-shang looked around, his eyes gazed deeply at both Mo Tuo and Shi Jian, and said, "Like always, battle invitations are allowed, and you can also add more bets if you please. Now who's going first?" "You," Mo Tuo shouted. Mo Yenyu, who was standing in the group of Mo family members, walked down first, her eyes cold and chilling. Looking towards the direction of the Shi family, she said, "Mo family, Mo Yenyu, nascent realm, second sky. Who is willing to enlighten me? Snowfall City, a silver sand mine. Here is the land title deed." Mo Tuo scowled and snorted. A dedicated warrior of the Mo family took the deed from his hand and put it on a round table in the arena next to the Bai Ming family. The round table was made for placing bets. Sunset City, the franchise of Dongguan Street. Shi Jian also snorted. He took 3 yellow sheets from his brocade pocket and passed it to the director next to him. When the 3 pages of yellow paper was also on the round table, Shi Jian said coldly, "Tian Luo, go." Shi Tian Luo shook for a moment, then he also walked to the arena and said with distinction, "Shi family, Shi Tian Luo, nascent realm, second sky, please enlighten me." Mo families, Mo Yenyu. Shi families, Shi Tian Luo. Both are at the second sky of the nascent realm. The 2 masters, have you made the decision to fight? The skinny director stood next to the round table and shouted out. When he saw both Shi Yan and Mo Tuo nodding, he then said, "All right, then the match starts." BZZ, BZZ, BZZ. Streaks of green lightning suddenly flowed out of Mo Yenyu's 10 fingers. Those lightning beams were like slithering snakes, slowing growing thicker in front of her. At this moment, Mo Yenyu seemed to be surrounded by lightning. Strands of green lightning that were as thin as a finger grew thicker and thicker, slowly becoming a 5-meter-long whip. After the lightning whips were condensed into shape, they were as thick as arms. The electric glow was blinding people's eyes, and strong electrical currents shot laser beams off everywhere. Snap, snap! Mo Yenyu cracked her whip, and the lightning whip was like a dragon made of electricity. Under the deafening sounds of thunder, she fiercely whipped towards Shi Tian Luo. BZZ, BZZ, BZZ. The lightning lasered off into the air, making strange sounds, and streams of electricity flowed out. Many warriors' expressions froze, and instinctively they condensed their profound qi to defend themselves. Shi Tian Luo's skin was already in an ash-gray color. The Shi family's petrification martial spirit was ready for battle. Seeing the oncoming lightning whip, Shi Tian Luo's face looked serious. All of a sudden, he shouted loudly, and a fierce force as strong as a mountain suddenly burst out from his body. Shi Tian Luo was as still as a mountain. His legs looked as if they were pitched deep within the earth. After petrification, his physical defense was extraordinary, such that he fearlessly reached his hand out to grab the lightning whip that came at him. BZZ, BZZ. Just when Shi Tian Luo reached out his hand, the lightning whip wrapped around his left arm, and a shocking amount of electricity passed from the lightning whip and into Shi Tian Luo's body. Arg! Shi Tian Luo roared. The profound qi in his petrified body scoured around inside his body, and quickly flowed into his left arm to restrain the electricity that was intruding into his body. Using the advantage of the petrification martial spirit, although Sir Tian Luo's left hand was tingling and sore, he wasn't in that much of an unfavorable situation. After grabbing at the lightning whip, he ran towards Mo Yenyu with great speed, and like a falling stone from the sky, he was filled with rapid momentum. The petrification martial spirit of the Shi family was best used for close combat. Once a Shi family member came to a close distance, that was when the opponent's nightmare starts. Unexpectedly, seeing that Sir Tian Luo was fiercely approaching her, Mo Yenyu, who held the lightning whip in one hand, did not dodge. Instead, she revealed a strange expression on her pretty little face. In a mere second, Mo Yenyu's blushed face turned as pale as a sheet, like she was desperately sick, and all the blood rushed away from her face. And at this moment, the speed of her flowing profound qi within her body accelerated more than 3 times. It was as if all the potential in her body was suddenly released. This is bad. Shi Yan thought silently. His heart dropped. He knew that Sir Tian Luo was most likely going to suffer this time. Mo Yenyu obviously only had a capability of a nascent realm, second sky warrior, but then her profound qi drastically changed inside her body, and now it was like she obtained some sort of power out of thin air that didn't belong to her. The profound qi in her body was much more vigorous than even that of a nascent realm, third sky warrior. This advantage meant she had no fear against Sir Tian Luo's petrification martial spirit. Sure enough, just when Sir Tian Luo stormed to Mo Yenyu's side, before he could strike any vigorous attacks, Mo Yenyu unleashed waves of. Each was as big as a full circle. It was over 3 times stronger than back when she shot it toward Shi Yan. Together, 7 waves of burst from her other hand, so fast that Sir Tian Luo had no time to dodge at all. Boom, 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 boom. 7 waves of all directly hit straight onto Sir Tian Luo's chest and blasted Sir Tian Luo off into the air. The undeniable power of these 7 waves was not something that the first stage of the petrification martial spirit could handle. When Sir Tian Luo was still in midair, he was already bloody from head to toe. Thump! Sir Tian Luo's body landed 3 meters in front of where Shi Jian was. Blood was gushing out his chest, and his eyes were dilated. Clearly he was badly hurt. Go help him. Shi Jian's eyes looked like they were going to burst into flames. After he thundered in rage, his strong figure shook lightly. A few dedicated warriors from the Shi family who were preparing on the side rushed up and carried Sir Tian Luo away. They quickly gave him medicines, hastily trying to heal him. Shi Tai dug his fingers into the stone chair. He sat there still, not moving an inch, but his eyes were full of immense hatred, staring at the faraway Mo Tuo. Mo Tuo was also furious-looking. He exchanged stares with Shi Tai. Mo Yenyu wins. The Mo family wins the bet. We may continue to the next match. At this moment, the director's emotionless voice rang from the other side of the round table. Chapter 68, A Thorough Defeat. Chapter 68, A Thorough Defeat. This pretty girl is amazing. Yeah, she won without any effort, even though she is at the same realm as him. Too nasty. That guy could have died several times if he didn't possess the petrification martial spirit. The competition among the 5 big families is really awesome. It is worth my long travel here. The arena was filled with boisterous discussions. The onlookers were all surprised at Mo Yenyu's ability. With a cold expression on her face, Mo Yenyu stood in the center of the field proudly, staring at the Shi family members with her frosty eyes, like a snow lotus on a snowy mountain. Those observing warriors also gazed at her hot body with sparkling eyes. They were surprised by her brutality, but still couldn't stop complimenting her. On the Sher family side, everybody had a rigid face. Sher Tai was trembling with anger, but could do nothing except stare at Mo Tuo in hatred. This was the martial competition. The loser couldn't say anything about a public defeat. He could only win back his prestige in another battle. Family head, young Master Tianluo is not heavily injured, but he won't be able to train his martial arts for 3 years. One minister of the Sher family came up from behind and said to Sher Jian and Sher Tai. Sher Jian and Sher Tai suddenly quivered at his message, with grief crossing their eyes. Grandpa, that woman is strange. Her strength surged halfway through. That's too weird. Sher Yen remarked in a low voice. I know. Sher Jian took a deep breath and turned to Sher Tianku and Sher Tianyin with hesitation. He had apparently noticed that as well. At the halfway point of the battle, Mo Yenyu's face suddenly turned pale, and it was at that moment the profound qi in Mo Yenyu's body became much more dense and circulated much faster, which was abnormal. You back. Mo qi up. Just then, Mo Tuo demanded, We are not going to change the wager and invite a battle with the Sher family again. Another youth about 6 feet tall replaced Mo Yenyu at the center of the arena and said proudly, Mo Chi of the Mo family, nascent realm, second sky. Please enlighten me. Big brother. Sher Tai yelled and looked at Sher Tianku, who stood behind him with worried eyes. What should we do now? Fight. Sher Jian grit his teeth, thought for a while, and announced, Tianyin up. All Sher family members were shocked at this and turned pale as they looked at Sher Jian in confusion. Sher Tianyin was the most talented among the 3rd generation of Sher family and was at the 3rd sky of the nascent realm. Thus everybody believed he would fight last. Now that Sher Jian had sent him up so early, who would fight in the following battles? Mo Zhan was of the 3rd generation of the Mo family, but he was not on the stage yet. No matter if Sher Tianyin won or lost this battle, he would lose the chance to fight against Mo Zhan, who will be sent to fight against Mo Zhan later. If they couldn't find anyone to compete with Mo Zhan, everybody would think there were no promising descendants in the 3rd generation of the Sher family, which was a bigger shame than losing the competition. Big brother, Sher Tai cried, Mo Zhan hasn't been sent. It must be Tianyin. There is something strange going on, so we have to send Tianyin, who is 1 sky higher than him. Sher Jian stated with a frosty face, Shut up. Tianyin, go. Yes. Tianyin replied firmly and directly stepped onto the arena. Sher Tianyin from the Sher family. Nascent realm, 3rd sky. Please enlighten me. Sher Tianyin. Isn't he the strongest in the 3rd generation of the Sher family? Exactly, why did he appear so early when Mo Zhan is still not on stage? The Sher family is scared now. They have no choice but to send Sher Tianyin up to fight. Now it's getting interesting. One is at the 3rd sky of the nascent realm, and the other is at the 2nd sky. 1 sky different. I guess the Mo family won't accept this fight. They will definitely change their warrior. Well, the Mo family won't buy it. The onlookers were all discussing among each other in astonishment. Many from the Baiming and Ling families were looking on with doubt in their eyes, staring at the Sher family with weird expressions. Even some faces from the Zhua family were filled with surprise, not knowing what Sher Jian was thinking. Only Zhua Su and Zhua Sher knew what was going on. They stealthily looked over to Sher Yen. Beiluo City, 1 mine, and the commercial street in the south of Beiluo City. Sher Jian took a deep breath and pulled out all the documents from his bag and handed them to the director. Mo Chi from the Mo family, 2nd sky of the nascent realm. Sher Tianyin from the Sher family, 3rd sky of the nascent realm. Is it right? As the wagers put on the table, the director frowned at Sher Jian and Mo Tuo. Mo Tuo was a little confused. as he glanced over at Shi Tianyin, not knowing why it was him who was sent. After hesitating, Emo Tua had a small talk with an old man, a mussy-haired one who was standing beside him, and nodded softly. Seeing him nodding, Emo Tua seemed to be relaxed as he nodded at the coach. No problem. Our warriors of the second sky of the nascent realm can easily beat those of third sky of the nascent realm from the Shi family. We are in. Now the battle begins. Shi Tianyin immediately petrified his body, while Emo Chi yelled once and lightning intertwined his arms. Emo Chi, prove yourself as soon as possible. Don't let others look down upon you. Emo Tua reminded him indifferently. Hearing that, Emo Chi quickly understood what to do. In an instant, like Emo Yenyu, Emo Chi's face turned as pale as a zombie, which was extremely horrifying. It was exactly the same. In Emo Chi's body, the flow of his profound chi accelerated many times. A certain energy that didn't belong to him seemed to be triggered and invaded his entire body. His aura suddenly overwhelmed Shi Tianyin, who was one sky higher than him. There it goes! Shi Tai yelled in anger. They must have played a certain trick. This is not the type of power that could belong to a warrior of the second sky of the nascent realm. Shi Jian looked depressed as he nodded. Did you notice that? Emo Tua had a talk with the old man behind him before he permitted the battle. Emo Yenyu and Emo Chi's weird change must have something to do with that old man. I won't let him go peacefully. Shi Tai gritted his teeth. Bang! Shi Tianyin kicked off the ground with one foot, and the solid metal stone made a thunderous sound as if it had been cracked. Shi Tianyin shot towards Emo Chi like a sharp sword at his fastest speed, intending to cripple Emo Chi as soon as possible. Emo Chi smiled coldly without fear, as he directly met Shi Tianyin, emitted flashes of lightning which flew towards him rapidly. As he released the lightning flashes, green balls of light burst out from the center of Emo Chi's palm. They began to strike Shi Tianyin heavily. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. One after another, green light balls struck Shi Tianyin and slowed his attacks. Just then, the profound chi in Emo Chi's body surged again. He appeared in front of Shi Tianyin suddenly from behind the green balls. The lightning flashes magically formed an electric net in the sky and wrapped up Shi Tianyin in an instant. How is that possible? The energy in that kid equals that of a human realm warrior. Shi Tai screamed in fear. Shi Tianyin was tightly entangled by the electric net. He struggled to escape it, but failed. At this time, Emo Chi's green light balls kept striking Shi Tianyin one by one and drove him back. Emo Chi dashed near Shi Tianyin and kept striking him with his arms and legs. Shi Tianyin was bleeding severely from the corner of his mouth, but he couldn't fight back because of the electric net that bound him tightly. What a thorough defeat! Everybody was stricken dumb in amazement as they stared at Emo Chi, who was merely at the second sky of the nascent realm, while he was striking Shi Tianyin, who could not fight back. WA, what the hell is that? Who knows? Why is that kid so powerful? It's weird, too weird. Is he really at the second sky of the nascent realm? Or are the nascent realm warriors of the big families one level higher than us? Confusing. Too confusing. All the warriors nearby were dumbstruck and couldn't figure out what happened. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. After receiving the endless strikes, Shi Tianyin was bleeding severely and his eyes gradually began to dim. Shi Jian stood up at once and demanded, "We lose!" The director from the Baiming family, who was standing next to the round table, immediately looked over to Baiming Shang after Shi Jian yelled. Baiming Shang seemed to not have noticed the scene on the battle arena, as he was still drinking his tea quietly. Seeing his attitude, the director understood what he meant. He lowered his head to check the documents, ignoring Shi Jian's announcement. Bang, bang, bang. Emo Qi continued to kick Shi Tianyun, as the latter had fallen onto the ground long ago. We admit defeat. Shi Jian stared at Bai Mingshang and roared. Bai Mingshang finally seemed to notice it, as he raised his head and then peered at the director casually. Battle stops. The Mo family wins. The director called out listlessly. Mo Qi finally stopped his attacks and took a few steps back. Smirking, he laughed. Haha. Shi family descendants are all losers. He is too weak for a nascent realm. Third sky warrior. It was a total waste of my time. Humph. Then he swaggered back to his family and received a bunch of compliments. Han Feng rushed onto the arena silently like a ghost and carried Shi Tianyun back, who was drowning in his own blood, and asked those family ministers to check on him. Those ministers were in a muddle, as they firstly put a handful of pills into Shi Tianyun's mouth with serious faces. Not bothering to stare at Mo Tua, Shi Tai quickly pressed his hands on Shi Tianyun's chest and transmitted his profound qi into Tianyun to heal him. The battlefield turned silent at once. Those onlookers noticed this strange occurrence. They stopped gossiping, but looked at the two families in confusion. Keep the wager, and Jean, you go up, Mo Tuo announced at a low voice again, with a cold smile climbing up his mouth. Mo Jean from the Mo family. Nascent realm, third sky. Please enlighten me. Mo Jean's robust body stood in the center of the arena, and he sneered, I'm quite curious. Does your Shi family still have people to fight me? Do you dare? Chapter 69, Believe in Me. Chapter 69, Believe in Me. The whole Godstone Square was silent. Mo Jean's clamoring seemed to echo in the arena. Shi Jian's face was in a grimace, and he was trembling in rage. He almost wanted to go to the middle of the arena and slap Mo Jean to death. The Baiming, Ling, Mo, and Zhuo families all looked at Shi Jian. Many warriors around the arena were looking at Shi Jian in sympathy. At this point, everyone could see the vicious heart of the Mo family, and they also knew that they had definitely used some unusual means. However, that's what the martial competition was like. Each side would use their own methods, and as long as they're not strongly against the rules of the arena, no matter how tragically the loser turned out to be, no one would say a thing. Even if the Shi family were highly displeased, at that moment, there was nothing they could argue about. And the others, of course, would not step into such murky waters. At that moment, Han Feng suddenly came up from behind the people of the Shi family and passed a slip of paper to Shi Jian. He said, Master, someone told me to give this to you. Shi Jian was barely able to control his anger. As he took a glance at the note, his expression suddenly froze. The children from the Mo family have taken the blood vigor pill, made by the poison dragon valley of the God-blessed empire. The blood vigor pill allows one to increase their strength by twofold for a short period of time at the cost of being unable to use their martial powers for a whole year. It is best for you not to continue the following matches, or else you will still lose miserably. The old man standing next to Mo Jean is the alchemist Xie Shou from the poisonous Dragon Valley. Sincerely, Mu Sun. Shi Jian looked at the words on the paper with a grim face. He finally knew what the Mo family had done. Just to deal with the Shi family, Mo Tua had sacrificed a year of his grandchildren's cultivation. In turn, this caused Shi Tianluo and Shi Tianyun of the Shi family to be bedridden for at least 3 to 5 years. This method was ruthless to the extreme. Shi Jian's expression was gloomy. Looking at Shi Yan, he suddenly could not decide how to proceed. If Mu Sun didn't pass on this information, Shi Jian might have actually let Shi Yan enter the arena. But since now the truth was known, Shi Jian knew that Mo Jean must have also taken that blood vigor pill, and that now his abilities were enhanced for the upcoming battle. Knowing this, Shi Jian faltered. Mo Jean was already at the third sky of the nascent realm, but after taking the blood vigor pill, he would have the ability of a human realm warrior. Human realm warriors could easily break the second stage of Shi Yan's petrification martial spirit. Shi Yan had only started cultivating recently, so Shi Jian naturally thought that Shi Yan lacked real battle experience. In this situation, Shi Yan could easily be crushed by his opponent, but Shi Yan had twin martial spirits. In a long run, he would definitely become as good as Bai Mingsu. He was the true future hope of the Shi family. If this battle led to Shi Yan losing miserably and suffering heavy injuries, not only would it slow down his path to success, the strike could probably devastate him forever. The more he weighed his options, the more hesitant Shi Jian felt. He almost had the thought to protect Shi Yan even if he were to be disgraced. Then, at this moment, Zhou Shi came slowly from the Zhou family side, carrying a giant backpack. Zhou Shi's captivating figure caused unrest outside the arena. Many looked at Zhou Shi lasciviously, their eyes gazing towards her beautiful long legs. Soon, Zhou Shi arrived at the Shi family's place. She stood next to Shi Jian and put the backpack on the Shi family's table, saying quietly, "Grandpa Shi, my grandpa told me to bring the dragon turtle armor to you in the hope that you would win." Then she turned her head and looked at Shi Yan and spoke quietly, "Go for it." After that, Zhou Shi left the Shi family area and returned to the Zhou family. Even when she arrived back at the Zhou family, her beautiful eyes were still locked onto Shi Yan from across the arena. Everyone in the Shi family felt devastated. Not only those who didn't know about Shi Yan's situation, even those who were actually aware of Shi Yan's cultivation level were also pitying him. A warrior who just recently broke through to the third sky of the nascent realm, versus one who heavily trained for 20 years and slowly came to this realm step by step. It's clear who was stronger. Besides, the Mo family obviously played dirty, so now the actual gap between the two was like a deep valley. Dragon turtle armor. When Shi Jian saw the armor, he was completely shocked. Even though his confidence was restored, he still hesitated a bit. Passing the paper slip to Shi Yan, he murmured, "Sai, Grandpa doesn't know what to do either. You decide for yourself. If you think it's too hard, then just give up." When he said the words, "give up," Shi Jian suddenly felt exhausted, as if he aged some years. Shi Yan still looked unconcerned with the recent surprising developments. He glanced at the paper slip, but didn't show any reaction. He was still calm as ever. He had already realized that the Mo family must have used some underhanded means. Before Shi Jian had even finished speaking, Shi Yan leapt off and appeared in the middle of the arena. He spoke lightly, "Shi Yan from the Shi family. Nascent realm, third sky. Please enlighten me." A great disturbance stirred in the crowd. The silent arena suddenly became louder than the street markets. Many were in utter shock, puzzled, as they looked at Shi Yan. "Who's this kid? I've never heard of this guy in the Shi family. Right? He never showed up in any of the previous martial competitions. When did the Shi family get such a warrior?" "Shi Yan. I know. Isn't he that young master of the Shi family who loves to study ancient texts? This guy never practiced martial arts. I only know him because he always caused trouble. No way. He has never cultivated in martial arts, but still is at the third sky of the nascent realm? Who knows? But even if he is at the third sky of the nascent realm, what can he do? You saw what happened when Mo Qi, who's only at the second sky of the nascent realm, went against Shi Tianyin, who is at the third sky of the nascent realm. About that Shi Yan guy, maybe it's only because Shi Jian doesn't want to be embarrassed, so he sent him out to die. Yeah, Sai, poor guy, being sacrificed like that." Around the arena, the sounds of gossip rose everywhere. Not a single warrior felt optimistic about Shi Yan. After knowing his true identity, they all thought Shi Jian had only let him go up out of frustration. The outcome was already decided. On the Baiming family side, Baiming Shang also furrowed his brows slightly. He turned his head to a dedicated warrior on the side. What's the deal with Shi Yan? Why was there no news about him? When did the Shi family get another nascent realm, third sky kid? Did he appear out of thin air? Master, I didn't know either. Since a young age, Shi Yan didn't have the Shi family's martial spirit, so we didn't spend much effort observing him. Who knew that he's suddenly a little strange? Baiming Shang nodded, he frowned, and asked no more. Baiming Su was dazed for a second, as a flash of surprise gleamed in his eyes. He stared at Shi Yan for a while, then suddenly realized, hey, isn't that the kid who was drinking with Han Zhong in the spring pavilion a few days back? Mu Yudai and Di Yaolin also remembered, and lightly nodded at the same time. From far away, Di Yaolin stared at Shi Yan, who was talked about by many people in the arena. Her expression was a little strange, and with a low voice she said, "It's him. He's definitely gonna die." Baiming Su shook his head, unconcerned. No matter how amazing his luck was before, this time, against Emo Zhan, he'll be crippled, if not killed. Emo Tuo also dazed out for a second, then he sneered, "I don't care where this little bastard came from, but we'll never see him again. Shi Yan, take that thing." Shi Jian shouted while grimacing. He pointed at the dragon turtle armor brought by Zuo and hinted at him. "Don't need it." Shi Yan glimpsed over at Shi Jian and shook his head. Then he smiled at Emo Zhan. "At the spring pavilion, I told you we'd meet again. Now do you know who I am?" "I know." Emo Zhan laughed arrogantly. "You're just someone who came here to die. Haha, the Shi family really has nobody now. Sending out a guy who researches ancient texts. Ha ha ha, I'm gonna laugh to the death." Shi Yan didn't show any anger. He looked indifferent and stood in the arena waiting. "Ahem, head of the Shi family, you can put out your bet now." The director, standing at the round table, shouted out, "Master! Master! Master!" At the Shi family tower, many of the dedicated warriors shouted, clearly indicating their displeasure. All of them had heard about Shi Yan. Even if he had somehow reached the third sky of the nascent realm, everyone believed that it was for naught, and that Shi Yan would lose miserably. If Shi family lost the fight again, not only would they be crushed in the competition, they would also lose their high-value bets, the repercussion of which would last forever. "Brother, you must not." Shi Tai advised Shi Tian strongly, still injecting his profound qi into Tian Yun. "Brother, it's not worth that little bit of pride. Tian Luo and Tian Yun have already lost. You can't bring Shi Yan in too. Just let it go, brother." Shi Yan could clearly hear all the chatter behind him. Groaning, he looked back at Shi Jian and said calmly, "Grandpa, believe in me." "Okay." Shi Jian, who was hesitating over his choices, looked at Shi Yan's confident expression. And for some reason, he actually did choose to believe in him. He suddenly roared, "Phoenix City, our family bets the authority to the whole city. If the Mo family wins, our family will cede the authority for Phoenix City immediately." This led to another great disturbance in the crowd. Everyone started gossiping and chatting again. Phoenix City was a big city in the Merchant Union, and the Shi family had been holding the authority to the city for decades. Now Phoenix City had been branded with the Shi family's name. It could be said that Phoenix City was where the Shi family's influence was deepest. Now Shi Jian was putting up the authority for Phoenix City as a bet. Was he going insane? "Big brother! Master!" Everyone in the Shi family were on their feet as they looked at Shi Jian in disbelief. All of them started requesting Shi Jian to take back the bet vehemently. "Stop trying to persuade me. My mind is set." Shi Jian's stubbornness was back, and with a straight face he sneered, "It's either make or break. I will take the risk this time." Everyone in the Baiming family and the Ling family were also stunned. Clearly they didn't understand either. Zuasu dazed for a moment, then sighed and said quietly, "Now there's no turning back for Brother Shur." "Okay." Emo Tuas suddenly stood up and shouted loudly, "You can't take this back now!" "Take it." Shur Jian took the deeds from his personal pocket and passed it to the director, who came towards him. Then he shouted coldly, "Emo Tua, your little bet is not enough. I will add 3 more mines." Emo Tua scowled, then sneered, "It's a sure win match. Doesn't matter how much more I add. After all, it will still belong to the Emo family in the end." Soon, the director took the bet from the Emo family up to the round table, then suddenly roared, "The match starts!" Chapter 70. The Focus of Attention. Chapter 70. The Focus of Attention. Let the battle begin. The referee's announcement officially started the much-anticipated battle. Emo Jean was wearing a cold and arrogant smile. In an instant, streams of electricity came out of his body, materializing into electric snakes. Those electric snakes intertwined around Emo Jean's whole body, which made him look dazzling. Emo Jean, a warrior of the third sky of the nascent realm, stood in the battle arena with pride, while electric snakes were circling all over his body. His lightning martial spirit was apparently way more powerful than Emo Yenyu's and Emo Chi's. As his face gradually turned pale, those electric snakes kept twisting around his body, looking hideous and seemingly wanting to eat people. The petrification martial spirit of the Shur family is said to be the king of close-range battle in the Merchant Union. Hee, I will give you a chance. Come near me and fight. Emo Jean stood still and burst into laughter with arrogance and pride filling his face, not caring about Shur Yen a bit. That guy is way too arrogant. Well, he is in the position to be arrogant. The lightning martial spirit of his is way stronger than that Emo Chi's. The result is quite clear now. Exactly, the Shur family will have a nasty failure for sure. Around the battle arena, the warriors standing on the high green stone building were all shaking their heads as no one anticipated that Shur Yen could beat Emo Jean. Even on the Shur family's side, everybody was in bad mood, sighing with disappointment. Well, with his usual indifference, Shur Yen strode towards Emo Jean at a leisurely pace, as though he thought nothing of him. While walking, his body petrified gradually and his skin grew gray. Before he came into the battle arena, Shur Yen had wiped a certain powder all over his body. That powder did nothing but change the color of his martial spirit, so that it looked gray even though his petrification martial spirit had already reached the second stage. Shur Jian did this as he wanted to avoid anyone thinking they were cheating. After all, it was a known fact that a nascent realm warrior couldn't reach the second stage of the petrification martial spirit. Kid, you were really something in the spring pavilion. I hope you can be as sharp as you were then. Emo Jean smiled coldly with his pale face as he stood still and waited for Shur Yen to approach. Sharp or not, you will know soon enough. Sure, Yen shook his head with a smile. As he replied, he was within 3 meters of Emo Jean. Humph! Suddenly, Emo Jean yelled in a low voice, and the electric snakes coiling around his body came to life. Those electric snakes flew out and dashed toward Shur Yen in a second. Damn! Shur Tai cried in fear. There they go! Dodge! Shur Yang couldn't help but cry out. Hiss, hiss, hiss! The electric snakes were as thick as thumbs and separated at once, as if they were alive, entangling Shur Yen from all directions, not leaving any gaps. Ignoring the cries of the Shur family, the electric snakes wrapped Shur Yen up tightly in an instant. Bad. Shur Tai's eyes were full of fear as he sighed with pain. How stupid is this kid? He didn't even dodge, even when he knows how Tianyun lost. Now he is repeating the same tragedy. It's done. Not surprising. Yeah, this guy studies ancient language. Stupid. There is no suspense. I guess he won't even have the slightest chance to fight back. Around the battle arena, those warriors were all feeling sorry for Shi Yan, as they shook their heads in sorrow, seeming to know the result. It turned out just as everybody assumed. Mo Zhan seized this opportunity and rushed up to Shi Yan. With it in his left hand and in his right hand, he struck his opponent, who was entangled tightly by electric snakes. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. The An were shooting like a hail and covered Shi Yan in an instant. Under Mo Zhan's intense attacks, nobody could clearly see Shi Yan, who was buried under the lightning, and they simply guessed he would lose for sure. One after another, electric slashes flashed with green light, and the audience saw the arena clearly again. Shi Yan was still standing there and hadn't moved. He was not hurt in the slightest, and smoke was coming from his coat. What happened? It can't be true. As the green light dissipated and the warriors saw Shi Yan clearly, they couldn't help but rub their eyes, surprised by Shi Yan, who was still standing in the arena like a mountain. Bai Mingshang also raised his head from his teacup and looked at Shi Yan in astonishment. He frowned and mumbled, "Weird." Mo Tuo's expression changed, but he still kept calm and just grunted once. Shi Jian's body quivered once, and a bright light crossed his eyes. After taking a deep breath, he pressed one of his hands to the stone stool and became excited. "Big brother. Family head." Shi Tai and the Shi family warriors looked to Shi Jian at the same time, with joy and confusion on their faces. "Keep on," Shi Jian yelled, as his mouth trembled a bit. Though still feeling confused after what they heard, Shi Tai and those ministers of the Shi family got a little expectation of Shi Yan. In the arena, Shi Yan was still entangled by the electric snakes, but apart from a little numbness after using his petrification ability, he felt nothing else, as he still maintained an indifferent expression on his face. Wisps of thin smoke gushed out from his arms, which soon covered the electricity from those snakes. Thus no one could see the change in his arms. While he was being struck heavily, his negative energy had mingled with his profound qi and gushed out from his arms, turning into 5 small swirls which floated around him. These swirls created by the combined these 2 types of energy, which slowly floated behind Mo Zhan. The swirls were invisible to anyone. Apart from Shi Yan, in this huge battlefield, only a human realm warrior like Bai Mingshang could sense it. "Mo Zhan, you are so weak." Under the gaze of the audience, Shi Yan broadened his mouth as he laughed and smirked. "You can't even hurt me when I stood there and didn't fight back. How did the Mo family become one of the 5 big families in the Merchant Union with skills like yours? Kid, you are seeking death." Mo Zhan's face changed suddenly and became even paler. He dashed over with a stern face toward Shi Yan, and just as Mo Qi kicked Shi Tianyan, he began to kick Shi Yan like crazy. Boom, boom, boom. Bang, bang, bang. Mo Zhan's heart attacks dropped upon Shi Yan, while the arena was filled with green light and strong, profound qi began to spill everywhere. Still weak. Mo Zhan, are you a girl? Under Mo Zhan's attacks, Shi Yan was unmovable like a mountain and couldn't stop shaking his head, ridiculing him with crueler and crueler words. "If you don't have a thing down there, I can help you satisfy your wife on your wedding day, in case that you make a fool of yourself." That was too wicked. Ling Yu from the Ling family suddenly stood up and cursed in a flirtatious tone. "Shi Yan, you will die a miserable death. I want you to die." Mo Zhan howled and triggered all his potential at once. He jumped toward Shi Yan and started sending out another rain of punches. Bang! However, Shi Yan simply stretched one leg and kicked Mo Zhan in the chest. That kick, by his sole free leg, sent Mo Zhan 5 meters away. Boring. Shi Yan grunted in disappointment as he got rid of the electric snakes. Those electric snakes, which were crawling all over him, broke away inch by inch. The shattered electric sparks dispersed all around the arena. "Be careful!" "Damn it!" The warriors nearest to the arena shouted and hurried to operate their profound chi to defend against those electric sparks. "Good boy." Zuasu patted the arm of his chair and praised, "I like this guy." Sher's bright eyes were shining with an odd light as she nodded at Sher Yen and smiled. "Well, this guy is really mean. Big brother. Family head. What is going on here?" On the other side, Sher Tai and the Sher family ministers all looked to Sher Jian in surprise. "It's fine. It's just that the Mo family is too weak." Sher Jian responded briefly, following Sher Yan's directions. Suddenly, the feeling in the air had become fresh. Mo Tua stood up with a green face. He stared at Mo Jean, and his breathing became heavier and heavier. "Those eyes, I have seen them somewhere." On the side of the Baiming family, Dialin showed a little suspicion on her face, and she murmured after a long deliberation. But at that time, no one paid attention to her murmurs. Instead, everybody was setting their eyes upon Sher Yen and following his movements. After getting rid of the electric snakes, Sher Yen started strolling towards Mo Jean. Mo Jean lifted himself up from the ground and rushed towards Sher Yen in a rage. At that moment, Mo Jean's body began to twist strangely as willow flowers fluttered in the air. Something invisible had entangled him tightly. The harder he struggled, the stranger the way he swayed. At last he floated up into the air. There seemed to be an invisible wicked hand behind him that had grabbed his neck and lifted him up. What happened? I don't know. What's wrong with Mo Jean? Is he out of his mind? Who knows what's going on? Why is Mo Jean floating in the air? Is he at the sky realm? Do you even think it's possible? The arena burst into clamor at once. Sher Yen came near Mo Jean with an indifferent face and slowly stretched out his hand. His fingers stabbed into Mo Jean's knee like 5 sharp spears. Crack! Crack! The clear sounds of bones breaking came from Mo Jean's knees. Crack! Crack! Another 2 similar noises came from his shoulders. Pa! Mo Jean was totally freaking out in front of Sher Yen. He couldn't help but fall on his knees. Not a single bone in his joints were connected. Pathetically kneeling in front of Sher Yen in front of such a huge crowd made him roar insanely. "Sher Yen, I am going to kill you! Kill you!" "Oh, really?" Sher Yen looked cool as he grabbed Mo Jean's neck and lifted him high up in the air again. Mo Jean tried his electric skill on Sher Yen, but it had no effect. In front of hundreds of eyes, Mo Jean was lifted up by Sher Yen single-handedly. It was a deliberate insult. Sher Yen intended to show Mo Jean's expression to everybody, for he circled the arena so that every warrior present could see the grief and fear on Mo Jean's face. After one circle, Sher Yen turned his eyes toward Sher Jian and sent the message, to kill or not. The arena quietened down suddenly, and all the warriors gazed at Sher Yen. Tens of meters away, Sher Jian got Sher Yan's message and was quite delighted. Under Sher Yan's gaze, Sher Jian nodded softly with a rigid face. "We give up." Mo Tua was shocked, and he cried miserably after he saw Sher Jian's cold eyes. "We lose! We lose!" "Stop!" the referee at the round table announced immediately. Crack! Another clear sound came from Mo Jean's neck, and his head flapped down in an odd way. All the warriors were horrified. They looked at Sher Yen, who had just shattered Mo Jean's neck, in quiet astonishment. It was extremely silent in the arena. Under everybody's gaze, Sher Yen tossed away Mo Jean's body indifferently. Pa! Mo Jean's dead body landed 3 meters in front of Mo Tua, with his head strangely twisted. Sneering at the Mo family, Sher Yen returned to the Sher family tower and without any care and took his seat. Chapter 71. Take advantage of their weakness. Chapter 71. Take advantage of their weakness. Shi Jian, you old man. Mo Tuo's eyes were filled with endless hatred. With a raging roar, he suddenly stormed towards the arena and thundered, "You killed my Jean and destroyed my family's future hope. I will bury you by his side." Mo Jean's death truly provoked him. Mo Tuo didn't even care about the rest of the martial competition. He straightaway rushed towards the Shi family. As Mo Tuo made his move, all the distraught members of the Mo family also stood up. They all rushed into the arena and sprinted towards the Shi family. Mo Tuo, my 2 grandsons are still lying on the ground. Shi Jian was in violent rage as he also rushed forward. Staring coldly at the approaching Mo Tuo, he sneered, "You were totally calm when you were winning, but lost your temper as soon as you were defeated? Humph! If you can't afford to lose, then don't participate in the martial competition at all. Calm down, all of you." Bai Mingshang's expression was stern as he stood up. Suddenly, the temperature around the arena dropped by a considerable degree as frigid air started emitting from his body. Even though the sun was at its height, all the warriors around the arena felt chilly. "Stand down!" Mo Tuo suddenly turned back his head and shouted to the grieved members of the Mo family. To this, the dedicated warriors and masters of the Mo family were unwilling. But under Mo Tuo's cold gaze, everybody retreated back to their places. "Shi Jian, would you dare to fight solo with me?" When the people of the Mo family backed away, Mo Tuo suddenly roared from the middle of the arena. "Whoa, no way. Now this is going to be quite a show. A battle between 2 family heads. I didn't come thousands of miles in vain. This time the arena is truly splendid." The crowd was totally excited as they looked at Shi Jian in expectation. "Why not?" Shi Jian sneered and also stepped into the center of the arena. He greeted Bai Mingshang and said, "Bai Ming family head, Mo Tuo and I will have a fair fight. I'm sure this is not against the rules." Frigid air was seeping from Bai Mingshang's body. He groaned and furrowed his brow for a moment, and then slowly sat down, shaking his head. He sighed, "Why bother you two? But if you really wish to fight, I wouldn't stop you. I only hope that you restrain yourselves and don't hurt others." Shi Jian was totally unfazed by the recent developments and was sitting nonchalantly at the Shi family's side. Seeing that Shi Jian had also stepped into the arena, his eyes furrowed deeply, knowing that this time it wouldn't end easily. However, just when the two were about to fight to the death, the entire Tianyin city seemed to shake for a second. In the far distance, the tall stone tower of the misty pavilion, which was dozens of meters high, instantly toppled down. Even from thousands of meters away, one could see the silhouette of a female above the tower, wearing a black crepe and a bamboo hat. This was clearly a very stunning woman. She was just like a goddess, with her hands above her head, as if holding something. That piece of the sky looked like it was time-warped, with masses of strange air flooded the clouds. From the clouds, some mysterious power in the river of time turned into pillars of light, and all of a sudden stormed down from the heavens, shooting directly into the woman's upheld hands. An earth-shakingly strong force suddenly spread out from the woman's body. Thousands of meters away, the warriors in the arena could all feel the terrifying force coming from her. Streaks of exotic beams abruptly shot out from her body. Due to the great density of the beam, it was as if multiple rainbows were wrapping around her. Sky Realm Master. Who is this woman? So powerful. What is happening? Why is there another Sky Realm Master in the city? Oh. All the people in the arena were totally focused in her direction, completely forgetting Mo Tuo and Shi Jian's fight. In the blazing hot sunlight, the woman with the perfect body raised her hands in midair. Suddenly, an enormous, radiant hand emerged from the sky and violently smashed down like a mountain. Under that gigantic hand, a black that was forming which was slowly increasing in size. Gradually, that black dot formed into the silhouette of a person. The godlike giant hand, spreading over hundreds of meters, smashed down on the ground with immense force. The silhouette of the person formed from that black suddenly warped and disappeared into streams of dark light. Boom! The enormous hand completely destroyed the 3 20-meter-high Misty Pavilion towers. The rigid green iron towers became metal scraps, flying everywhere. The woman in the black crepe and bamboo hat stood in the air above the ruin of the Misty Pavilion for a moment, and then flew towards the arena. In merely a few seconds, she arrived above the arena, condescendingly looking at the crowd below. With her angel-like voice, she said, "Half of the map is on my hands. M.O. family head, if you really want it, just come and take it up front. No need to play tricks in the dark." Our M.O. family didn't do it. M.O. Tuol looked up at her and roared, but there was a flash of surprise in his eyes. M.O. Tuol was only at the 3rd sky of the Nirvana realm, but this woman could walk in mid-air, which was a trait of sky realm warriors. How could M.O. Tuol not be afraid? Miss. 2 giant men pushed their way among the crowd and immediately appeared outside the arena. In mid-air, the floating goddess-like woman pointed at M.O. Tuol and commanded, "Teach him a little lesson." "Yes, miss." The 2 giant men roared as their muscles suddenly bulged. They were already 2 meters tall, but instantly grew by some centimeters while exerting power, with dark, thick hair suddenly growing on their bodies. In a flash, the 2 men turned into what looked like rabid beasts, their eyes filled with a bloodthirsty and murderous look. The 2 giant men suddenly dashed out, the strong green iron rubble exploding into pieces everywhere they went. "Who are you? This is the Merchant Union's arena. We will not allow you to cause trouble here." Bai Ming-shang suddenly roared into the heavens, frigid air seeping from him. Howling, Bai Ming-shang also flew into the air. Balls of strange blue flames flew from his body. Those flames shortly condensed into blue fire clouds. These icy clouds, along with the power to freeze the heaven and earth, shot towards the woman. "Bai Ming-shang, is it?" The woman's voice was still sweet as she said indifferently, "The Misty Pavilion's business has nothing to do with you. Your Bai Ming family can act like an overlord in the Merchant Union, but in the Endless Sea, you would not even be a third-rate family. You better know your place." Arrogant. Bai Ming-shang raised himself into mid-air and stood across from the woman, his face as cold as glacier. He sneered, "I would like to see exactly how capable you are, since you dare to bluster with your wild arrogance." The cloud-like surged towards the woman like tides. The woman snorted as she suddenly rose up and disappeared into the mass of clouds. After a long moment, her voice rang out, "Come and fight up here. Don't harm the innocent." "All right." Bai Ming-shang shouted, his body also shooting high above the sky, and disappeared in the clouds. Thundering roars came from the heavens, as if it was the end of the world. Everyone in the arena knew that Bai Ming-shang had started fighting with the mysterious woman, but sadly no one could see this fight. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 towering men had, by then, surrounded M.O. Tuol and ruthlessly started beating him. These 2 big men were like iron giants, their bodies extremely sturdy. They weren't afraid of the arms, thick strands of lightning, and kept bombarding M.O. Tuol in the midst of the lightning strikes. Strikes of lightning flew in the sky like an electrical dragon. The lightning came from M.O. Tuol, 15 strands in total, and they formed a closely knit electrical web, charging at the towering giant men. M.O. Tuol, give up the treasure map, or else don't blame me for attacking the M.O. family members. Mu Sun's voice came from a corner of the arena. He had brought a group of masters from the Medicine Valley and walked towards M.O. Tuol step by step, his expression grim. "Mu Sun, The treasure map isn't with the Mo family. Release Chowga now, or else you're not going to walk out of Tianyin City alive. Mo Tuo was furious. Even under the joined forces of the two giant men, he could still give out threats. All right then, you forced me to do this. Musun's voice was cold, and he said to the Medicine Valley masters beside him, "Kill everyone in the Mo family!" Then Musun also sprinted out, his body like a beam of light. He joined the forces of the two giant men and bombarded Mo Tuo. Pop, pop, pop. Boom, boom, boom. The electrical dragon moved around in the sky. The two towering giant men were like monstrous beasts. One of them grabbed 2 millstone-sized green iron pieces, and whenever he got near Mo Tuo, he would throw the 1,000-gene piece of green iron at Mo Tuo. TL note: a gene is a little more than a pound. In a short moment, the whole arena was filled with lightning and flying stones. Fire spread everywhere, and silver lights scurried around. In the crowd, those that were struck by the electric dragon turned into a crisp, while those that were struck by the stones turned into a pulp. The fight among these masters had turned everything into chaos. Many of the warriors cursed, shrieked, and roared as they all tried to get out of the way. Those with low capability simply escaped the Godstone Square in a panic, afraid to stay and watch the show. The masters from Medicine Valley took advantage of the situation and stormed towards the Mo family, attacking its descendants and warriors. However, the Mo family's descendants and warriors were undaunted. They weren't afraid of the Medicine Valley's attacks and firmly suppressed those that came at them. Now Shi Jian actually seemed like an outsider. In the arena, he watched the Mo family suffer in surprise, but inside, he was as delighted as ever. "Grandpa, do it now." Shi Jian stepped forward and said firmly, "Do it now." Shi Jian froze, then furrowed his brows. "You mean?" "Mo Zhan is dead. Mo Tuo will surely seek vengeance. Rather than letting the Mo family recover and strike us, why not take advantage of their weakness? You can cooperate with Musun and those two to kill Mo Tuo, while we'll hunt down the second and third generations of the Mo family. It's best if we completely cripple the entire Mo family today, so they would never have a chance of revenge." "Sure," Yen said cruelly. "Big brother, sure Yen is right. Mo Zhan is already dead, and Mo Chowga is probably not going to live either. At this point, we should just screw it all and do it. Screw the martial competition. Take out the Mo family first." Shi Tai came up and growled. Shi Tianluo and Shi Tianyin were both heavily injured, still laying on the ground. He had already suppressed his anger, but now that the perfect chance was here, Shi Tai couldn't hold himself back anymore. Han Feng was also here, and he nodded at Shi Jian. Bai Ming Shang is kept busy right now, so the Bai Ming family has no one in charge. Without his permission, no one in the Bai Ming family would help the Mo family. This is a golden opportunity. If we miss this chance, we'll never get it again. Shi Yan gave in another word of encouragement and said, "Grandpa, you guys kill Mo Tuo, and I will take care of Mo Qi and Mo Yinyu, who severely wounded brother Tianluo and brother Tianyin. We can entirely destroy the Mo family bloodline. Kid, you sure are ruthless enough." Shi Tai smacked Shi Yan, and before Shi Jian agreed, he rushed out and shouted, "Mo Tuo, you old dog, today you will die for sure." Once Shi Tai exited, Shi Jian stopped hesitating and said to Han Feng, "Idiot, protect Shi Yan." Then he also stormed out and roared, "Mo Tuo, it's time to settle it between us." Chapter 72. Each with their own schemes. Chapter 72. Each with their own schemes. The whole arena was in a mess. Mo Tuo was besieged by many masters. Those that Mu Sun brought from Medicine Valley also hounded people from the Mo family. In the Shi family's area, once Shi Jian and Shi Yan took action, The masters of the Sher family also sprinted up and attacked the Mo family members. In a short moment, the arena broke out into a war. None of the warriors who came to watch the martial competition expected the event to go down this way. When the big fight erupted, many furious powers vented out their enmity and ruthlessly attacked their enemies, embroiling many innocents. Because of this, in just few minutes, a number of warriors were sent to their death. The bystanders could no longer sit still. Seeing the two families slaughtering each other, very few people decided to stay and continue watching. They all hurriedly retreated from the Godstone Square, afraid that they might become a target in the slaughterhouse. The retreat of the bystanders was very swift. Now the only people present in the Godstone Square were those from the 5 big families. The Beijing family was merely the observers. In the absence of Bai Mingshang, the Bai Ming family decided to only be a spectator, not aiding either of the families. Bai Ming stood in silence in the Bai Ming family's tower. He was closely watching the besieged Mo Tua, and occasionally gazed at the Mo family members who were attacked by the Sher family. "Young master, what should we do? Keep watching?" Bai Ming's eyes flashed coldly as he spoke. "MMHMM, we don't need to entangle ourselves in this dog fight. Let them chase among themselves. Whatever the outcome, it wouldn't affect us in the least. We will directly curb the one who loses in the end and take away their inheritance. With our influence in the merchant union, we will be the prime benefactors." "You are wise, young master. But should we stay?" "There's no need." Bai Mingsu suddenly smiled. "Let's go back. Staying and doing nothing wouldn't be that great after all. We're not joining the fight anyway. So let's go back and arrange things a little. Let's go." Upon hearing that, all the masters from the Bai Ming family nodded in unison. Led by Bai Mingsu, they all retreated from the Godstone Square. Now, in the arena, only 4 families remained: Zhua, Ling, Mo, and Sher. The Sher and Mo families were fighting, while the Zhua and Ling families were merely the spectators. Unknowingly, Shi Yang arrived at where the Zhua family was. He bowed to Zhua Su and said, "Uncle Zhua, I hope you could please keep an eye on the Ling family during this fight." Zhua Su casually replied while sipping his tea, "Don't worry, the Zhua and Ling families always had feud between us. If the Ling family dares to make a move, we won't be sit still either. Rest assured and do whatever your Sher family wants. The Ling family won't be problem for you." "Thank you, Uncle Zhua." "It's nothing, whether it be business or personal affairs. The Zhua family and the Sher family have always been allies. Of course, we would take some pressure for you." Zhua Su nonchalantly said. He gazed at where the Sher family was assembled and asked in confusion, "Where's Shi Yan, that little brat? Why haven't I seen him?" Shi Yang was surprised and also looked around, realizing that there truly was no sign of Shi Yan. He shook his head and gave a wry smile. "That kid was just there, now who knows where he's gone. Watch that kid. The brat is very good. He's going to be the future hope of your Sher family. You can't afford to lose him." Zhua Su said, "Haha, Uncle Han Feng is keeping an eye on him. No need to worry, Uncle Zhua." All right then." Zhua Su smiled, and while glancing at Zhua Shi next to him, his smile looked a little strange. "Xiao Shi is also quite fond of your Shi Yan." Shi Yang's expression bloomed, and he nodded. "I'll be going then, Uncle Zhua." When Shi Yang was gone, Zhua Shi's face flashed in confusion, and she said, "Grandpa, when was I fond of that guy? What are you bullshitting about? Sending that dragon turtle armor was your idea too. It wasn't just me who wanted to help him. Sheesh." "Haha, whatever, same thing." Zhua Su seemed like he was in a good mood, and he told the Zhua family members, "We will stay here for now and watch the Ling family for the Shers. If the Ling family dares to get involved, we don't need to act kindly to them either. After today, the situation in the merchant union is really going to turn upside down. We can't let the Ling family take any benefits." At the Ling family's side, the head of the family, Ling Ju, frowned silently. The masters of the Ling family were all standing behind Ling Ju, seeing that he hadn't spoken yet. These people were all on guard, as if silently waiting for his decision. At the Mo family's place, all their members were surrounded by the people from Medicine Valley and the Sher family. Their situation was turning from bad to worse. Suddenly, Mo Chao Tian broke through and quickly rushed to Ling Ju's side. Kneeling down on one knee, he spoke in panic. "Uncle Ling, please let the Ling family step in. My father is besieged by many masters. He might not last long. We are also being chased by people from Medicine Valley and the Sher family. It's getting harder and harder to hold up. Uncle Ling, for old time's sake, please help our family. The entire Mo family will always remember your favor." Ling Ju furrowed his brows and lightly sighed. He said in frustration, "Chao Tian, it's not that I don't want to help, but the Zhuo family hasn't made a move yet. Once our family gives aid, the Zhuo family will immediately spring up. The reason why I haven't done anything yet is because I'm watching the Zhuo family for you guys. But if this continues, the Mo family might not be able to withstand it any longer." Mo Chao Tian said in fear, "If the Ling family cuts in now, it would force the Zhuo family to get involved too. It would be useless." Ling Ju shook his head. He hesitated for a moment and then shouted, "Xiao Feng! Bring some people and bring Yinyu back here. Yinyu is your future wife. She can't die." "Yes." Ling Xiaofeng called out and fiercely sprinted out, accompanied by some of the warriors from the Ling family. "Chao Tian, Yinyu is your daughter, and the daughter-in-law of the Ling family. I will protect her for you. As for the rest, Sai, I really can't help. I can only promise you that I will make sure the Zhuo family won't step in to go against the Mo family. This is all I can do." Ling Ju said in frustration. Mo Chao Tian was in a daze. He deeply gazed at Ling Ju, and after quite a while finally turned away in grief, silently returning to the Mo family's battle. "Big brother," Ling Jieqing whispered hesitantly. He said, "If we don't help, the Mo family will definitely lose heavily this time. Mo Tua might develop a hatred for us." Ling Ju's expression was calm as he sat there and lightly took a sip of tea. He lowered his head and said, "Younger brother, at this time we cannot be reckless. Su won't easily let us join the fight. Besides, the Misty Pavilion has a Sky Realm Master. She is going against the Mo family. If our family steps in, we won't get anything good out of this. Also, this is an opportunity. Mo Zhan is dead and Mo Qi is in danger. Yenyu will be the hope of the third generation of the Mo family. If Yenyu becomes our family's daughter-in-law, our Ling family can openly take the Mo family's properties when they get in a dangerous situation. And if one day Yenyu becomes the head of the Mo family, with her status as the daughter-in-law of the Ling family, Good scheming, big brother." Ling Jia was stunned for a while, then he finally nodded. "I was thoughtless, big brother. You are one that strongly considers the future. Yes, we only need to protect Yenyu. The rest we don't need to care about." Ling Ju raised his head and squinted towards the fight in mid-air, saying, "When Yenyu gets here, we can go back. This time the odds are against Mo Tua." He sighed. "Who would have known that the Misty Pavilion hid a Sky Realm Master, Brother Mo? It's not that I don't care about our friendship, just that you're truly in back luck." "Grandpa Ling, I beg you to save my grandpa." Mo Yenyu was brought back. Once she arrived at the Ling family side, she immediately knelt down. Tears marks streaked down the sides of her cheeks. "If you don't help now, my grandpa might not be able to last long. Grandpa Ling, please. As long as you give in your aid, I will marry Xiao Feng right now." "Yenyu, it's not that I don't want to help. I just really can't." Ling Ju shook his head. He stood up and said, "In the future you will understand the painstaking decisions I am making now. Everything I am doing is for you and Xiao Feng. Brother, take away Yenyu, we are going home." "Yes." Ling Jie suddenly appeared behind Mo Yenyu. He hit her once, and the breathlessly crying Emo, Yanu, suddenly went limp and fainted. Head of the Zhua family, I think that this martial competition can go on no more. We are going back in advance. How about the Zhua family? Lingju looked at the far-away Zhuasu and shouted loudly. Zhuasu was surprised, then secretly cursed out at the old fox. He also smilingly stood up and said, "We were also going to go. Why should we go together?" "Sure thing. I was just going to chat a little bit with Master Zhua. Then we shall go together?" Lingju nodded and replied with a smile. In the arena, the Ling and Zhua families had been sitting still as mountains. However, at this crucial moment, as if they did not see the chaos inside the arena, the two heads of the families walked side by side, and with their subordinates behind them, headed straight out of the Godstone Square. Those remaining in the Godstone Square were only the onlookers who thought that they were strong enough to bear the aftershocks of the battle. The Mo family, the Sher family, and the people from the Medicine Valley. Chapter 73. The Change in the Fallen Godstone. Chapter 73. The Change in the Fallen Godstone. Sure, Yin was roaming the Godstone Square, leisurely. Wherever there was a body, he would appear. His presence would cause the body to completely dry up and become devoid of any profound qi in mere seconds. Because of the devastating battle, many nearby warriors felt the brunt of it. Those warriors of elementary and nascent realms were the most affected, for they couldn't block the aftershocks from the battle between the Nirvana realm warriors. Once they became entangled in their battle, there was no hope for them. In just a few minutes, Shi Yan roamed around the Godstone Square and harvested all the profound qi from 7 elementary realm and 4 nascent realm warriors. Only human realm warriors were somewhat lucky to escape, as they could withstand the aftershocks generated from the battle, not receiving any life-threatening wounds. Therefore, there wasn't any corpses of a human realm warrior, which was very disappointing to Shi Yan. Due to the mysterious power that could absorb the profound qi from the corpses into his meridians, Shi Yan hoped for more chaos. He was continually encouraging Shi Jane to fight against the Mo family in person, so to increase the casualties, enabling him to enter the human realm faster. Han Feng was lingering 10 meters away from him like a ghost. Wherever he went, Han Feng would follow him like a shadow, lest he created some trouble. 10 meters away, Han Feng was staring at Shi Yan with eyes filled with confusion. During the nasty battle, Shi Yan was acting weirdly. Han Feng couldn't figure out what Shi Yan was pondering. He didn't ask, as he was just there to protect his young master in case of an accident. Shuttling through the Godstone Square, Shi Yan would always stand beside the corpses for a while. Although he saw the corpses undergoing some strange changes, Han Feng didn't care about it, as he thought those dead warriors must have been poisoned and it was just taking effect now. He never could have thought that such strange changes were actually caused by Shi Yan. Not far from Shi Yan, the Godstone suddenly collapsed and a painful cry was heard. Hearing the cry, Shi Yan became ecstatic and he rushed over. Under that collapsed Godstone, a nascent realm warrior was taking his last breaths. The warrior was unfortunately hit by one of Mo Tuo's lightning bolts. However, he seemed to possess some sort of defensive martial skill, which had sustained him till now. Sure, Yen looked indifferent when standing beside the collapsed structure. Even from 10 meters away, Shi Yan could feel the highly dense nascent realm profound qi coming from the injured warrior. In just a few minutes, the warrior was sucked dry, and Shi Yan harvested another batch of profound qi. Han Feng was secretly watching Shi Yan in confusion from another corner of that collapsed stone. It's so weird. Has anyone been using poison? Why did they all die in such a strange way? Shi Yan shook his head and looked up at Han Feng. Uncle Han, there must be someone here in the arena with his own purpose. Han Feng nodded with approval, but was still perplexed. Pa! Lightning, as thick as an arm, flew over like a dragon and hit the structure heavily. Chi, chi, chi. As the lightning flashed on the collapsed structure, a layer of dim moonlight suddenly came out of that mountain-like stone. That dim moonlight had created a strange but cool atmosphere, but the moonlight quickly disappeared and everything returned to normal. Shi Yan and Han Feng, who were standing near that structure, had watched the whole process. Shi Yan let out a soft sound and walked towards the collapsed structure frowning. He stretched out a hand and pressed on this mysterious stone. Under the blazing sun, the stone was cool to the touch. It was as if the stone had been accumulating moonlight over 1,000 years and was carrying the coolness of the night. And it was as heavy as an average metal. Sensing it for a while, Shi Yan couldn't find anything out of the ordinary about the stone. He released his hand and asked Han Feng, frowning, "Uncle Han, did you see the stone shining for a few seconds just moments ago?" "Yes." Han Feng nodded softly and walked up as well. He touched the legendary stone himself and remarked, "No change. Maybe it's because Mo2O's lightning struck it just now. Yeah, it must have something to do with Mo2O's lighting martial spirit." Sure, Yen agreed, as he couldn't figure out anything special. There was still a bit of suspicion left in his mind. However, since he couldn't come up with anything now, he didn't give it a further thought. Mo family members, disperse and go home. Suddenly, from the battle arena, came Mo2O's angry order. Sure, Yen looked in the direction from where the sound came. Under the relentless attacks, Mo2O looked to be in a difficult situation. His back was severely bleeding and he seemed to be heavily wounded. He didn't continue to fight after Shi Tai's severe strike and dashed towards the faraway commercial street in a hurry. Mu Sun, Shi Tai, and Shi Jian immediately gave a chase without saying a word. Those two tower-like men hesitated for a second, but ultimately stood in the center of the arena, not intending to kill anymore. Those Mo family members also didn't dare stay in the arena after Mo2O's command, running away in all directions separately. Sure, Yin was calmly standing behind the godstone and watching the surroundings. He saw the old man with unkempt hair from poisonous Dragon Valley jealously protecting Mo-Chi with Li Han, running towards a block of houses to the south of the Godstone Square. "We can't let Mo-Chi live." Shi Yan took a deep breath and said to Han Feng, "If the grass root isn't pulled out, it will grow when spring comes. We have to take out Mo-Chi. If the grass root isn't pulled out, it will grow when spring comes." Han Feng frowned and repeated that sentence twice, and finally understood. His eyes sparkled as he softly said, "Young Master Yen is indeed capable of great things." Without saying anything, Shi Yan walked away from the fallen godstone and gave chase after Mo-Chi. Shi Yan soon exited the Godstone Square. Just as he was about to enter the narrow streets between the houses, he found Shi Yang and some Shi family members chase from behind too. "Big uncle, I will take care of Mo-Chi. You go after the others." Shi Yan yelled from afar. Shi Yang was stunned as he saw it was Shi Yan who was giving chase. He reprimanded, "Where have you been till now? Don't you know it's chaos in the arena? Your grandpa will peel my skin if you have an accident." "It's fine." Han Feng appeared from behind Shi Yan and responded softly. Seeing Han Feng behind Shi Yan, Shi Yang relaxed and smiled. "Well, you go after Mo-Chi and I will go after Mo Chaotian." Then he nodded at Han Feng, ran up to another road and dashed away. A quarter of an hour later, on a small street in the south region, Mo-Chi was in a murderous mood as he focused on running. Suddenly a shadow appeared in front of him. At the corner of the street ahead, Shi Yan leaned against the stone wall with a sneering smile on his face and said casually, "Mo-Chi, are you tired? Yeah, you can have a rest now." Mo-Chi suddenly stopped with a ferocious face. "Shi Yan, you killed my brother. You must pay for it." "Pay for it?" Shi Yan's mouth widened and shook his head. Mo Zhan is not too far away. You may catch up to him if you are fast enough. I came to see you away. Young Master Chi. Li Han showed up from behind Mo Chi, and beside Li Han stood the Bloody Hand, from poisonous Dragon Valley of the God-blessed Empire. Kill him. Mo Chi pointed at Shi Yan and said angrily he has to die. Let the younger generation solve their own problem. You'd better not get involved. Han Feng suddenly popped up his head from a house, looking at Bloody Hand and Li Han coldly. Bloody Hand from poisonous Dragon Valley? Shi Yan gazed at that old man and suddenly remarked, You refined that blood chi pill? Well, poisonous Dragon Valley is literally the cradle of degenerate alchemists who only know how to make degenerate pills. Kid, you are seeking death. Bloody Hand frowned as his face turned rigid suddenly. He grunted, I had no qualms about getting involved in your Shi family and Mo family matter, but now that you are so arrogant, how about tasting my poisonous Dragon Valley skill? Young Master Yan, you take care of Mo Chi, Bloody Hand, and Li Han are mine. Han Feng announced softly and flew down from the roof as light as a feather and stood between Bloody Hand and Li Han. You think we, poisonous Dragon Valley, are that lame? Bloody Hand smiled cunningly and immediately swallowed a strange pill, which was as big as a longan and as crimson as blood. After having that pill, Bloody Hand's eyes suddenly turned red and his jumbled hair stood at its ends, while dense smell of blood came from his body. Han Feng's face changed suddenly. Young Master Yan, go home right now. Li Han, Mo Chi, kill that arrogant kid. I will take care of the old man. Bloody Hand broadened his mouth in a smile and licked his lips with a horrifying expression. Uncle Han, be careful. Shi Yan was on alert as he realized something strange from Bloody Hand's change. He took a glance at Han Feng and Mo Chi and ran towards the Green Moon Lake as fast as possible. Before Han Feng could take off, Bloody Hand dashed forward and an intense bloody air suddenly enveloped him and prevented him from leaving. Li Han and Mo Chi looked at each other and chased in Shi Yan's direction without a word. 5 minutes later, on another street, Li Han and Mo Chi paused suddenly. Mo Chi said with a ferocious face, Kid, you are not running away? Are you tired of living? I had said I will stop your Mo family from having descendants. I can't break my promise. Shi Yan stood at the entrance of the street, looking grim. Wisps of white smoke were suddenly emitted from his body. The negative energy gushing from him gave off a murderous impression, like he was a bloody god of slaughter from the Shura blood sea. Since Han Feng was not with him, he could finally use his real ability now. Chapter 74, Taken Care of. Chapter 74, Taken Care of. Standing at the end of the alley, Shi Yan's body was emitting an extremely malignant pressure. But his heart, however, was pure and his eyes serene. 3 millstone sized appeared behind him and by his sides. They were invisible and traceless, as no one else except for him could detect them. Negative energy poured out from his meridians and filled his whole body. Shi Yan's once sturdy body clearly became a lot thinner. This was the first time that Shi Yan completely displayed. The biggest change he felt was that his spiritual sense could now perceive the slightest details, and his mind was absolute calm. Li Han slightly furrowed his brows. Looking at Shi Yan in front of him, he always felt a little recognition. But when he thought deeply, he couldn't remember where he recognized him from. On Mo Chi's 2 arms, strands of lightning as thick as fingers were formed, and his facial expressions became more and more ferocious. Uncle Li, Mo Chi roared. Li Han's expression froze. His body suddenly popped loudly. The sounds of his joints were like waves hitting upon the shore, gushing with momentum. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A swirl of wave-like white lights swiftly flowed out from Li Han's body. Li Han's hands constantly pulled at the void space, and those white lights were like actual tides, stirring waves in thin air, and it abruptly rolled toward Shiryen. Li Han stood firmly and yelled with a serious face. In front of him, the waves folded in layers. Between him and Shiryen, there was suddenly a choppy river flow. The crushing waters in the river was controlled by his will, as if he wanted to drown Shiryen right in front of him. Roar! Emochi growled, and the strands of lightning wrapped around his arms became tongue-flicking snakes. They slithered above the waves and charged toward Shiryen while releasing electric flashes. Shiryen's heart was still as clear as a mirror. He remained unmoved from the oncoming attacks. Just when the waves formed from profound chi were 5 meters away from him, Shiryen suddenly took 3 steps back, his body submerged into the previously formed. Controlled by his will, the 2 on his left and right suddenly drifted a few meters forward and suddenly merged together. Thump thump. BZZ, BZZ, BZZ. The released by Li Han and the electric snakes from Emochi directly clashed into the middle of the big that was formed by the 2 smaller ones. Weird sounds came from inside that. Those, formed by profound chi under a special martial skill, all of a sudden strangely turned into thin mists. It was as if the profound chi was dissolved in the and became natural energies, dissipating into the earth. The electrical snakes shot into the, as if influenced by the strange whirlpool. These snakes actually became intertwined and continuously whirled in that area. They just weren't able to escape the restraints of the. In Li Han and Emochi's eyes, it looked as if their attacks were stopped in midair, with their attacks unable to move forward. This appeared very strange to them. The 2 froze. Confused by the sudden development, they were both caught off guard. Shiryen's murderous attempts were always clear. When noticing that there was enough to stop the attacks of the 2 opponents, his mind was struck with an amazing idea. He moved that stopped the attacks and slowly pushed it forward. Now the swirling electric snakes were quickly charging towards Li Han and Emochi. Li Han's expression changed. He finally realized it was Shiryen who was secretly manipulating their attacks. He quickly stopped his martial skill and pulled out a sharp, silver-white sword from his waist. Once the sharp sword was in his hands, it looked as if it was tinted with a layer of color. The sword suddenly turned a strange, light purple color, with purple marks appearing on the blade. Li Han flicked his wrist, and all of a sudden, the sword shone with a bright purple light. A 3-meter-long, fierce, purple aura suddenly shot from the tip of the sword. With a straight face, Li Han shouted, and raised his sword to strike down. BZZ, BZZ. The sword aura and the blade directly slashed onto but they remained unaffected. The lightning that came from Emochi was still suspended from above, and all at once dropped onto Li Han. Li Han shouted in pain and hurriedly tried to retreat. Shiryen suddenly moved. Like a thrusted spear, Shiryen's body stabbed straight towards Emochi. Emochi's expression changed, and he hurriedly backed away in fear. Emochi! Shiryen roared while coming towards Emochi. Emochi instinctively looked towards Shiryen. Endless bloodlust was shown inside Shiryen's eyes. It looked as if countless evil spirits were about to fly out of his pupils. Those evil spirits were drenched in blood. You could even clearly see their fragmented hearts in the chests as they rushed to pounce at Emochi. Emochi was suddenly stunned. He blanked out in this crucial moment right where he stood. Puchi! The 5 fingers on Shiryen's left hand were like a sharp blade, stabbing right into Emochi's chest and pierced his heart in one strike. Shiryen's 5 fingers came straight out of Emochi's back. Emochi shook under the piercing pain. His eyes instantly turned back and his consciousness returned. Emo Jean is still waiting on the death road for you. Take care. Shi Yan looked at him emotionlessly and abruptly drew out the hand from his chest. Whoosh! Blood gushed out from Emo Chi's chest like a river bursting at its banks. Shi Yan quickly dodged the blood flow. Thump! Emo Chi's life force was extinguished, and he fell on his back with blood still endlessly rushing out his chest. Young Master Chi! Li Han, who was numbed by the lightning, screamed out loud, his face full of terror. It was as if he couldn't believe how Shi Yan got rid of Emo Chi so fast. Don't yell. He'll be waiting ahead for you too. Shi Yan turned around. He suddenly raised that blood-covered left hand and waved it at Li Han. This is the blood from Emo Chi's heart. Do you want to know how it tastes like? Li Han's face suddenly changed, and he shouted, Shi Yan, you're seeking your own demise. You're only at the nascent realm. You have no chance against me. Are you trying to add courage to yourself with your capability that's higher than my nascent realm? It's no use. Today I will use you to break into the threshold of the human realm. Using his mind, Shi Yan silently shifted the to beside Li Han and suddenly enveloped him within it. In mere seconds, Li Han felt like he was in the deepest whirlpools in the ocean, his body uncontrollably swaying along with the whirlpool. Even his profound chi was no longer in his control. Back when we were in the Stone Woods, I already wanted to kill you, but you released the blue smoke bomb before I could. Shi Yan walked towards him step by step, his body wrapped in white, fabric like mist. He took a quick step and flew out into the... Once he entered the whirlpool, the white mist that was present in the whirlpool quickly entered Li Han's body under the rapid rotations. You, Ding Yan! You are Ding Yan! Li Han's expression changed. He suddenly screamed. It was the Emo family that took action first. You can't blame me for being harsh. Shi Yan hopped into the center of the whirlpool, standing closely in front of Li Han, his blade-like fingers grabbing Li Han's throat. Crack! The crisp sound of bones breaking came from Li Han's neck as he died unwillingly. The quickly disappeared. The negative energy, filled with the fear, desperation, and loathing from Li Han and Emo Chi, all flowed into the meridians in Shi Yan's body. In a minute, both Li Han and Emo Chi became two dry corpses, their profound chi gone without a trace. Shi Yan took a deep breath. He let his mind calm down and closed his eyes to listen to his surroundings. There was not a single sound. One hand carrying Li Han and another with Emo Chi, Shi Yan ran swiftly along the alley. He sprinted through the alley like a ghost. 10 minutes later, Shi Yan arrived at the Moon Lake in an area where no one went to. He threw the corpses of Li Han and Emo Chi into the lake, watching the two corpses sinking to the bottom. The look on Li Han and Emo Chi's dead bodies was too obvious. To prevent anyone from noticing his secret, he had to properly take care of their corpses. At this sensitive time, he couldn't reveal his identity. The Biming family was still trying to find him. To look out for the Biming family, he had to continue hiding his true identity. He could only take care of business more conveniently while in the dark. Splash! As Shi Yan was standing there in a daze, a breathtakingly gorgeous face suddenly appeared in the middle of the Moon Lake. This was a startling beauty. Her temperament was elegant, noble, and extraordinary, like a goddess of the Moon Lake that came down from the heavens. This woman was wearing a black crepe. The crepe now clung tightly to her perfect figure, revealing her most tempting curves. Now that stunning body rose slowly to the surface of the lake, like a beautiful, bright moon. Her body surfaced from Moon Lake. Once that figure completely rose from the waters, she stepped on the lake water, her beautiful brows slightly furrowed. She walked towards the shore with elegant grace. Shi Yan stared with wide eyes. This was the first time he was truly intoxicated by a woman's beauty. This woman, whether it be her body, temperament, or beauty, was completely on another level compared to Mu Dai. The mysterious woman. Just when the woman was about to walk up onto the shore, Shi Yan's heart shook, and he suddenly realized who this woman was. The unknown sky realm master who appeared above the arena. Chapter 75. A Kiss. Chapter 75. A Kiss. Shi Yan's bright eyes were focused on the mysterious and graceful woman, who was walking on the lake towards the bank, step by step. Suddenly she coughed out blood, and her body shivered, as a trace of hopelessness passed through her eyes. As Shi Yan watched, the woman's face grew pale and her eyes dimmed. Just as she was about to reach the bank, that mysterious woman suddenly trembled and fainted. Shi Yan quickly realized that she must have been severely injured by Bai Mingxiang. After realizing this, Shi Yan immediately rushed towards the lake and caught the mysterious woman before she could drown. The touch of that exquisite body intoxicated Shi Yan so much so that he was barely able to bring the woman up onto the bank. Shi Yan felt for breath under her nose and found her to be breathing steadily. There was a strange energy growing in her and nourishing her body bit by bit. As the bloodthirsty desire welled up in his mind, Shi Yan quickly realized he was in a precarious situation as the negative energy was on the verge of exploding. He had absorbed too much negative energy, and as it was at the crucial period of purification, his meridians were emitting greater amounts of negative energy. Holding this mysterious woman in his arms, Shi Yan's expression shifted continuously. After a long while, Shi Yan finally came up with an idea. He tore a piece of cloth from his coat and covered the woman's gorgeous face, then directly ran to a brothel with the woman in his arms. The mysterious woman was a sky realm warrior, and she had been injured by Bai Mingxiang. Therefore, she would be considered to be an enemy of Bai Ming family. In the merchant union, the Bai Ming family was still the most influential power, as no other family could compete with them for now. This woman was so mysterious and her cultivation realm was high. Bai Mingxiang would be very unsettled as long as this woman was alive. Shi Yan was determined to let her live on. Tonight, Tianyin City would not be tranquil. Bai Mingxiang would certainly send out his experts to search for this woman, and Shi Yan would have to protect her until she woke up. As the negative energy in him grew stronger and stronger, and as he had such a beautiful woman in his arms, he was barely able to control his desires. However, he knew that he couldn't do anything to the woman, or the Shi family would be annihilated after she woke up. A quarter of an hour later, carrying that mysterious woman with her face covered, Shi Yan directly walked into the Misty Rain House in the south of the Tianyin city and yelled, "Madam, get me 2 pretty girls! Quickly!" Hua, hua, hua. Shining purple crystal coins rolled out of Shi Yan's pocket onto the counter of the first floor of the Misty Rain House. Coming. A 30-some-years-old sexy woman with heavy makeup and a professional smile on her face popped her head out from upstairs. After a quick glimpse at the purple crystal coins, she burst into loud laughter and replied happily, "Master, please come up the 3rd floor. I will arrange the girls for you right away." "Good." Shi Yan nodded and followed the woman up to the 3rd floor with the unknown woman in his arms. "Yan Ro, hurry up. Come to room number 3 and give this master your best." The brothel madam laughed seductively and showed Shi Yan into a room, as she shouted to the girls, "Madam, we will be there right away." From the room at the upstairs corner came a sweet response. Before long, 2 pretty teenage girls with seductive eyes entered Shi Yan's room. "Master, you brought another girl with you? Huh. You think the girls in my Misty Rain house can't satisfy you?" The madam stood in the room and examined the mysterious woman with her sophisticated eyes and couldn't help but giggle. "You are very interesting. I've never seen anyone bring a girl by himself." I'm rather powerful at that and have special tastes. It would be more fun to have one that I brought." "Sure." Yin glanced at the madam and said indifferently. The madam kept smiling and looked at the mysterious woman again, smiling knowingly to herself. Naturally, she guessed that the woman must have been grabbed by Shi Yan and he was going to take her virginity in the Misty Rain house. In case that woman couldn't endure it the first time, he got 2 girls to satisfy him. The madam had seen such occasions many times, so she could handle it easily. She nodded and said, "Yan Yu and Ro, take care of this master, and try your best to satisfy him. Don't worry, madam. We've been in this industry for so long, we know how to make our clients happy." That girl called Yan Yun looked at Shi Yan with a big smile and softly licked her lips. "Master, I will make you comfortable." "You disappear." Sure, Yin couldn't suppress his desires anymore. After a deep breath, he yelled to the madam, "Great! Master, enjoy yourself. Call me whenever you need more girls." The madam seductively turned around and walked back to the door with a face full of smiles, and considerately closed the door. Sure, Yen then put the woman onto the soft carpet. Putting one of his hands on the woman's back, Shi Yan found that the strange power in her had already flowed over her whole body, speeding up the circulation of her profound qi. Furrowing his brows, Shi Yan quickly figured out that this woman must have taken some rare pills, which were taking effect even while she was unconscious. The pills were recovering her injuries quickly and making her profound qi operate automatically in order to wake her up as soon as possible. "You too, come with me." So many streams of negative energy were gushing out from his meridians, and he couldn't stand it anymore. Quickly, he wrapped the 2 girls in his arms and pushed them onto the bed, which was covered with a red quilt. After an unknowingly long time, slowly, Shi Yan woke up to find his eyes extremely clear, as he could now precisely feel the wisps of mysterious energy coming out from his meridians. Part of the mysterious energy had seeped in his blood, flesh, bones, and veins, and the remainder had congregated in his dantian. This mysterious energy had made his profound qi become extremely dense and fresh. Under the control of his will, his profound qi was boiling in his body like a spring tide. Holding his breath, Shi Yan went into meditation, clearing his mind of any thoughts and letting his profound qi flow freely in his body. After a long time, Shi Yan's body shook, and he immediately woke up. His senses were different all of a sudden. Closing his eyes, Shi Yan could clearly sense the essence of the air between heaven and earth. The essence was everywhere in the air, though he couldn't sense it before. But at this moment he could clearly perceive its invisible movements. His profound qi had become extremely accurate as well, as it would fly out swiftly from the middle finger of his left hand at his will. With a thought, his profound qi skipped continuously. It came to life and turned into a blade of grass, a magic snake, and then a flying worm, feeling the essence in the air and refining everything in the world. This was human realm. Shi Yan's mouth formed a joyful smile. In delight, he slowly stepped off the bed. He took a look back at the bed and realized it had become a mess. 2 naked, white bodies were spread upon it, with a satisfied smile on their faces. They were deep asleep. These 2 women were not warriors and seemed to be unable to bear his mysterious energy. As he ejaculated, that mysterious energy didn't come out, for it had already been absorbed by Shi Yan. With a little surprise, Shi Yan turned his head back and without hesitation walked over to the mysterious woman slowly. Bright moonlight was coming through the window. It was late at night. Shi Yan stretched out his hand and examined the woman's back, only to find that she was recovering at an unbelievable speed. At this speed, she would wake up at dawn. Tonight, Bai Mingshang must be searching for her everywhere. However, he would have never believed that she would be in a brothel. After tonight, this unknown woman could recover up to 80%, and then she could go to anywhere in Tianyan City. How is Han Feng? Sure, Yen suddenly remembered Han Feng. If he escaped from Bloody Hand, he would be looking for Shi Yen everywhere. Once he couldn't find Shi Yen, he would assume that he was killed by Li Han and Mo Qi. After all, Han Feng didn't know Shi Yan's real ability, while Li Han was a human realm warrior. Shi Jian regarded Shi Yen as the treasure of the Shi family. Therefore, once he knew that Shi Yen was dead, he would do everything he could to get revenge. After a thought, Shi Yen decided to leave quickly and return home. As his hand stroked the woman's back, it finally came to the cloth that covered her pretty face. Lifting a corner of the cloth, Shi Yen revealed her cherry-like lips. He smiled unexpectedly, went up and pressed his lips on hers. An intoxicating fragrance was coming out from that woman's mouth. In just a short moment of inhaling it, Shi Yen felt rather refreshed and found a comfort he had never experienced before. He couldn't suppress his desire again. Moving his mouth away unwillingly, Shi Yen raised his head and gazed at her with emotional eyes and mumbled, "Well, I saved your life. This kiss is my reward." After that, Shi Yen opened the half-closed window and swiftly jumped out. His figure moved in the dark night for a moment, faded into the dim moonlight, and finally disappeared. Chapter 76, Exquisite Figure. Chapter 76, Exquisite Figure. Our first sponsored chapter. This chapter was sponsored by N, Wagoner, and N, Meenan. Many thanks for their donations. This make 1/3 sponsored chapters for the week. Dash. The sky was dimly lit. In the main room of the 3rd floor in Misty Rain House, Xia Xian Yen slowly woke up. A pair of eyes as clear as water were filled with confusion. She looked around the room and finally saw the bed draped in red duvet covers. Xia Xian Yan's heart shook. She abruptly sat up on the carpet and looked at the bed in panic. On the bed, the 2 girls from the Misty Rain House, Yan Yun and Ro, were completely naked. The whole room was filled with a strange scent. Numerous thoughts flashed through Xia Xian Yan's mind. She hurriedly checked her own body, and realizing she was still untainted, she finally sighed in relief. Her fight with Bai Mingshang had injured her quite seriously. When falling into the moon lake, she only had the time to take a nutrition pill. It was due to the improper distribution of the medicinal powers of the nutrition pill that she had suddenly fainted and fell unconscious while walking up onto the bank. Her memories just before she fainted slowly became clear, and she remembered seeing Shi Yen standing at the bank of the lake. That was the last thing she could remember before she fainted. Xia Xian Yen felt something on her face. She reached out to grab it and found the piece of cloth that Shi Yen used to cover her gorgeous face. Looking at the sweaty and stinky rag, Xia Xian Yen furrowed her brows, and she became even more confused. What happened? Xia Xian Yen stood up, gazing at the 2 sleeping girls on the bed, and groaned. She then pulled out a white handkerchief from her sleeve to cover her face again. Finally, she walked to the door and pushing it open, shouting, "Is there anyone here?" Coming right up, the voice of the madam rang out. In a short moment, the madam, who had previously led Shi Yen into this room, came up smiling. Once she arrived into the room, the madam nervously peeked at the bed and suddenly shouted in surprise, "Hey, where's that young master?" Young master. Xia Xian Yen furrowed her brows, and a strange light flashed across her eyes. "Where is this place? Who brought me here?" "Miss, you don't remember anything." The madam was dazed. Her makeup-caked face was filled with a strange expression. She scanned Xia Xian Yen from head to toe, then suddenly laughed. "Miss, that young master couldn't have possibly just wiped his ass and left after violating you? Huh, I have no idea who that young master was. You better not give me shit for this." Xia Xian Yan's expression froze. Her slim hand smacked the table in the room. Boom! That solid wooden table was instantly crushed, wooden chips and sawdust spreading everywhere on the floor. The madam's face immediately changed, and she almost cried on the spot. With a terrified voice she yelled, "It's not my fault. I didn't do anything. Miss, please let me go. I asked you, what is this place? And who brought me here?" Xia Exayanyan's eyes were filled with impatience. So what happened was, the madam sobbed and fearfully described the whole process in which the things happened. She kept shaking her head in denial. "Miss, I really had nothing to do with it. Please forgive me." She had only thought that Xia Exanyan was violated by Shi Yan, and worried that under the mask of rage on Xia Exanyan's face, something bad would be done to her. So the madam kept crying and begging. After hearing the madam, Xia Exanyan was shocked, and her expression was very strange. "Who was that person?" "He took me to the brothel, but totally ignored me and audaciously sought pleasure. He really is the most perverted bastard in the world." Xia Exayanyan had 100% faith in her beauty. Growing up, she had seen too many different men who coveted her beauty. She knew exactly how fatally alluring she was to men. That was the reason why she always concealed her face, to prevent unnecessary complications. That person was obviously a very perverted guy. She could see it from the fact that he brought her to a brothel. But this extremely perverted guy only had sex with the two tacky makeup cake prostitutes and didn't make a single move on herself. Why? While feeling very confused, Xia Exayanyan also felt a slight bit of rage. "I'm not as good as these two prostitutes. Is he fucking blind? It's not my fault. It's really not my fault." The madam continued to beg. She kept yelling, but secretly kept observing Xia Exayanyan's attitude at the same time. Then she hesitatingly asked, "Miss, what did that kid do to you?" Xia Exayanyan's eyes turned cold as she glared at the madam. The madam felt a chill run down her body. She started shivering and didn't dare to ask anything more. Xia Exayanyan thought for a while, and finding the sky slowly turning bright, jumped off the same window from which Shi Yan had earlier exited. On the street, her figure flashed for a few seconds, then disappeared without a trace. The madam blankly stared at her disappearing silhouette and secretly sighed in relief. After quite a while she murmured to herself, "I've been the madam here for this many years, but I've never seen a woman with such a beautiful figure. That young master sure had a lot of luck, being able to seek pleasure on such a high-class woman." The Shi family in the stone room. Shi Jian was furious as he roared in rage. "Find him! You all have to put in all your strength into finding him. Everyone put the Mo family to the side. You have to find Shi Yan first. Don't come back if you can't find Shi Yan." The Shi family masters, Shi Tai, Shi Dang, and Han Feng all lowered their heads, their expressions dejected. "Master, it's all my fault. I couldn't protect young Master Yen." Han Feng lowered his head, but his eyes looked sinister. Xieshou's medicine could only last for 2 hours. Now that it should have worn off, I will bring you Xieshou's head. Xieshou cannot walk out of Tianyin City alive. Shi Jian's eyes were blood red. With a murderous look, he said, "But right now we don't have time to take care of Xieshou. Shi Yan is the most important issue. Everyone go to that place, and even if you have to dig up the whole Tianyin City, you have find Shi Yan. He has another martial spirit, so he won't die that easily. You all have to search for him with all your efforts." Another martial spirit. The faces of Shi Tai and Shi Dang were full of surprise. At this moment, they finally realized why Shi Jian was so furious. Warriors with twin martial spirits were 1 in 10,000. Each one of such warriors would all eventually become outstanding figures. This was why Bai Mingshang arranged Yin Kuei and Jiu Shan to protect Bai Mingsu. A family descendant with twin martial spirits, if under normal circumstances, would definitely become the future leader of the family. They can bring a family to new heights. If such a figure suddenly died, it would become a painful strike to a family. Big brother, I will go find him myself. Sure Tai also realized the seriousness of the situation. His face darkened, and was about to immediately leave the stone room. Master, young Master Yen is back. Right at this moment, Han Zhong appeared out of nowhere and said excitedly, Young Master Yen is fine. He's going to arrive at the stone room soon. Ha ha ha. Shi Jian laughed into the sky. His expression turned from a thunderstorm to a sunny sky. I knew that kid would be okay. Look, didn't he come back in one piece? Shi Tai and the rest were all making weird faces, thinking who was it that was drowned in anxiousness and looking so panicked as if his parents had died or something. You killed those two? Shi Tai was shocked. He looked at Shi Yen with disbelief and said in surprise, Li Han was a human realm warrior. You were able to kill him? I suddenly broke through into the human realm during the fight. Then everything became easy. Shi Yen smiled nonchalantly. After hearing that, many Shi family warriors in the room were all stunned. Their jaws dropped and stared at Shi Yen with strange expressions. Shi Jian dazed for a second. Then he rushed toward Shi Yen and grabbed his arm. After detecting for a while, he suddenly laughed. The gods have not wronged the Shi family. I knew you little brat was some good stuff. Good. 17 years old and in the human realm. The nurturing we gave to you did not go in vain. You will definitely become an outstanding figure of this generation. What happened to Mo Tuo? Shi Jian furrowed his brows and asked. Heavily injured. He went back to the Mo family with his skill, but he won't be able to recover for 3 years. Now he's probably hiding in his shell in the Mo family. He wouldn't dare to leave the Mo family for a while. Shi Tai sneered and spoke indignantly. If it weren't for those 2 guys from the Misty Pavilion stopping their chase, Mo Tuo wouldn't have been able to escape. Too bad we couldn't kill Mo Tuo. It's good enough. This time Mo Tuo is heavily injured. Mo Zhan and Mo Qi are dead, and many warriors from the Mo family were also killed. From now on, the Mo family will never have what it takes to compete with our family again. Now is the time for us to take as much spoils from the battle as possible. Father, should we go all out? Shi Dang said, Pass my command the masters from all the other surrounding cities. From now on they must immediately attack the strongholds of the Mo family. The ones from Tianyin City should also take action now. Other than the headquarters of the Mo family, you can mercilessly attack all the rest of the places. Shi Jian roared. The Zhuo family. In the secret room, Qi Zhao's expression was a bit embarrassed, but his face showed a wry smile. Zhuo Su was sipping his tea, and he was also frustrated. He sighed and said, Whatever, who could have known the girl was a sky realm warrior? Now we have to use other methods. That girl's actual combat ability should be around Disaster Realm, 3rd sky. But her martial spirit is very strange. It's like she could borrow power from her past life and temporarily step into the sky realm. It's very frightening. This martial spirit has never appeared before. It looks like the Endless Sea is truly an extraordinary place. Qi Xiao frowned and sighed in frustration. That girl could instantly raise her power to the sky realm. Probably no one in Tianyin City could easily take that fragment of the map from her. Although I'm not scared of her, I don't want our fight to be mutually destructive either. If that were the case, my identity would be revealed, and that old fox Bai Mingshang would definitely notice something. Hopefully the Misty Pavilion doesn't know that we did this, or else the situation could get really sticky. Zhuo Su sighed. What's going on with the Shi family side? Qi Xiao moaned and then suddenly asked, I will communicate with Shi Jian about this. Then, after the situation becomes less tense, I will send someone to the Misty Pavilion and hopefully we'd be able to cooperate. Sigh, that girl could instantly jump to the sky realm. So I guess this is all we could do. It's the only way. I hope that girl won't hold a grudge against me. Sigh, I really feel a little guilty fighting a little girl. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.